Oh, we said that this week was going to be insane. But I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff popping off. Get ready, buckle in. I hope you cancelled all of your plans. If you've launched this at the gym, I hope you're ready to ruin your body because we're going to be here for like 3-4 hours. I've actually got a hard out in 3 hours as well, and I'm worried we're going to end up hitting it. The roster season has begun. The off season has officially started. 7th of October yesterday. All of the different regions were allowed to unveil their players. So joining me today, Meiy, Bren, Sliggy, who I'm sure have been poring over some of these. But I mean, we knew a lot of it anyway. I want to start with Meiy. What the hell have you been up to since Red Bull? I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
What have I been up to since Red Bull? Watching baseball, mainly. Being a
so sports pilled.
I'm just doing 70-year-old man things, Josh. I go and I watch my baseball game. I come home and I cue a game of PUBG with my friends as a little treat.
PUBG?
Yeah, it's the biggest game of 2013, baby. I don't know what you're talking about.
You got down to the bingo hall afterwards as well.
Absolutely, I have been. Oh my god, I've been harvesting at the bingo hall. Let's just say. But yeah, I mean, these moves have been ridiculous. I've just been catching up on it. I mean, a team that got promoted isn't going to be in the league next year.
That's a good one to start with, actually. That's a very funny one to start with. But we also need to congratulate Bren for winning the Pokemon race.
Yeah, it's true. I did.
Oh, did he
won
win?
another Pokemon race. I did.
It was a long race, eh?
Nice.
Had a 5-hour deficit at some point, came back.
You caused a 5-hour deficit.
Many
you make that sound like
you
make that sound like you had 5 hours less than everybody else. You didn't.
Yeah. No, I ended up beating it. I also forgot we were doing an episode today, so I woke up like 20 minutes ago. And
Nice.
It's all right. We don't have much to discuss.
No, I haven't watched any. I haven't looked at any of the news.
This is going to be good.
I'm coming in completely blind. These are just straight up. I've given no thought into any of my takes this episode. People keep coming into my chat asking me like what I think about these changes, and I'm just like, I just let my Nightbot respond to what I think.
You let your Nightbot respond?
I've got automatic commands. So if you type like, "What do you think?" Nightbot says, "Don't really care." Like just automatically responds with like different phrases based on what somebody writes in the chat, and I just let that speak for me. So I put no thought into this. My head's been empty.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Beautiful.
We also have a new thing for our members, actually. Plenty of you have stayed members after we did our co-stream of Masters Shanghai. And so there are additional benefits being rolled out to you. And one of them is a fairly big one, actually, that's just gone live about an hour before we're broadcasting this. So if you're watching this as a VOD, you know, check it out because it'll be active. It is a members-only Discord server. So you can become a member to the channel if you're a member already. Just connect your YouTube to your Discord. You can join the Discord. It's got... Well, it will have a ton of members in there. I think at the moment there's only like a couple of people that have realized it's open and joining in. But yeah, we may end up doing some like, you know, if we need to gather people for 5 stacks or something like that, we might end up doing some of that from the members only Discord. But otherwise, just a chill place to come and discuss some Valorant and other. I mean, my Discord is riddled with people that like gacha games, and it's a plague at this point. So hopefully that doesn't happen.
You should close your Discord.
Yeah, probably.
When was the last time you moderated it, Josh?
I actively moderate it.
Really?
You don't actively moderate it. That's not true. There's no way that is true. I still get pings in your moderator channel, even though I'm not a mod in your fucking channel at all. And it's all of them just frantic. Every time it's them frantically pinging you over some issue in the Discord. It's like two Valorant heads that are just going at it. They've been going at it for like a week, and it's just blown up and spilled over, and they've just they required the head overlord.
Sliggy's got the correct idea with all of this, which is to try to create a zero tolerance policy for any kind of, you know, toxic, edgy joke at all. You just ban them immediately.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with them. That's the best way. Just let the mods do it all. See anything bad, just ban them, and then they can complain afterwards, and then maybe you get unbanned. Maybe. Yeah. Maybe.
That's not the way our server's gonna work. But
yeah.
How long do you think each of us would last as a member of Sliggy's chat if we had no other knowledge? I feel
Ren
like
and Sideshow have both been banned.
Have you never been banned, Meiy?
I haven't been banned yet.
Mimi's never been banned. No.
That's crazy.
I've only come in a few times. So been honest, been logical.
Sliggy,
enjoyed the joy of life. It's like walking into the Garden of Eden when I walk into that chat room.
Can you unban the VoIN shower handle?
No,
does
not a
deserve
chance.
to be unbanned.
That guy's crazy, man. That guy's caused absolute
You're not gonna
havoc.
ban the VoIN?
He's a mod for me.
Yeah, I saw that as well. That one's mental.
All right, let's get into the show proper. But just before we do, this is a sponsored episode as well. We're back with another sponsorship here. Thanks to Factor Meals for sponsoring this episode 190 Giga off-season episode. You can use code Valorant50 for 50% off with factormeals.com, or you can just go to the link, which is factormeals.com/Valorant50. Factor does a lot of a pre-prepared, their chefs do all of the shopping, the chopping, they bring you the fresh, never frozen, fully cooked meals right to your doorstep. If you're paying a bunch, if you're a classic gamer who doesn't get up to do the cooking and instead just buys takeout all the time, this is guaranteed going to be cheaper, probably going to be a lot healthier for you as well, especially if you pick healthy options, which you can, because they have, calorie smart, keto, gourmet, veggie, vegan, whatever. And yeah, you can do that by heading to factormeals.com/Valorant50. Use code Valorant50 to get 50% off your first box and then 20% off the next month.
Could you create a rhyme, please, around Factor Meals?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for putting me on the spot, Brent. No, of course, I can do that for the sponsor. Yeah, there's absolutely no worries with that whatsoever. You should go to Factor Meals. There you will get the sickest deals. Use the code Valorant50 if you want to be really thrifty.
Holy moly, dude, this guy's popped off.
I'm not giving you any more. I'm not giving you any more. That was the worst of all time.
Look at us. Look at this dude. Holy shit.
When's the drill album releasing?
Yeah, cat in the hat looking ass, I think, is the most accurate thing anyone's ever said about my rapping talents. Okay, let's get into the first piece of news, which was what Meiy was talking about. One of the teams that ascended last year is no longer going to be in VCT. BleED have been removed, and boom, the second place team who lost to SPG in one of the sickest finals ever. It turns out that sick final didn't even matter.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Was it like DRX to it? Like, can they both go through? And then yeah, pretty much they both have just gone through. But dude, this is wild. Do you know what? I kind of forgot that this all happened because there's been so much stuff that's happening. You started mentioning this. I was like, oh yeah, BleED got relegated. Like BleED actually fully gone, and we're guessing it's monetary stuff. Like, I don't know if you guys know anything more on this or have delved deeper into this. But
I've done a little delving.
Okay, what you got?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think we should lay out like what the publicly stated stuff is, right? Sure. First, so they said that Riot has made the decision to remove BleED from VCT and VCT Pacific, and they said BleED was terminated due to its failure to comply with critical reporting requirements and other key obligations under the TPA. So I have no idea about the reporting requirements. Like that, I have no clue what exactly that entails. But they also cite persistent operational failures. Of like protecting the best interests of the players in the league, it's better for BleED to be gone. So that's kind of bonkers, right? And BleED themselves put out a statement being like, caught. Like their statement basically didn't say like we think we acted reasonably and we're going to challenge VCT on this. They
I thought you meant they actually posted like the Joe emote and just were like, yep, you got us. You got us on Twitter.
I mean, kind of.
I mean, they didn't argue against it much, did they? They pretty much just said, yeah, that's true. Like we, unfortunately, yeah, we're unable to rectify these issues in a satisfactory manner, and the decision was made to terminate. And they're just kind of like, okay, and we're gonna try and qualify again.
I mean, fuck off. They're going to try to qualify again.
They're going to qualify. They're going to get back to the door, and it's going to be like the Homer Simpson emote of walking in, getting drunk, getting thrown out, turning around, walking back in, getting thrown out again. It's like, if it's an org issue, I don't think that's happening. In their statement, though, they cite specifically that over the year they were trying to address issues related to their deliverables in the TPA, which is the partnership agreement between Riot and the teams. And we don't know exactly what's in those agreements. I think you can kind of infer some of the things, like the teams probably have to like run activations, promote different things around their events, put a team in play and the thing. So I think it's really a question of like, what were they delinquents on not doing for Riot? Because that to me sounds like it might, if the like kind of allegations are true about them not playing players, that's obviously pretty damning. But if that isn't the case, then what would be damning enough for Riot to actually go and make a decision this big?
Yeah. So there was a report from Purist. I mean, I say report. Purist is somebody who does reporting, but this was just a tweet that basically said, according to a former BleED employee, there were instances where players were delayed payment for a couple of months. And having spoken to somebody with intimate knowledge about this kind of stuff, they said to me, they told me that they had to get in touch, not just with like badgering BleED, but had to get in touch with Riot 2 or 3 times just to force BleED's hand so that they could get payments. And then their kind of point of view on it is that it probably was a player payment situation. So the issue with it is that none of, from what I can tell anyway, not many of these like reports and investigations are coming from the Riot side of things. Almost all of them are using sources that come from BleED in some way, either players or management or staff. And to be honest with you, I'm not sure that any of those will know the exact reason. Like, that just depends on what Riot have decided to communicate to them. So it needs some proper investigation, I think, especially if BleED continue to participate at the tier 2 level. You kind of got to know if they're going to be signing new players, like, what were the reasons? What are you walking into here? Some of the players, though, seem pretty happy about it. Crazy Guy and I think Darion were like, never had any problems. They were chill.
Yeah, they got paid. They got paid. They got money. So I mean, the same thing. We thought something similar was going to happen to EG last year, but I think it's definitely and that was more just like the fact that they were keeping some of their players kind of locked up a little bit in the EG jail. But I think what a lot of people aren't taking into account is like you have the 10 partnered teams. And then you have the other 2 Ascension teams. And those other 2 Ascension teams, they're like way more willing to just bat them down if something happens as well. Because they haven't got the contract signed with them for like as long to 2027, I think it is. So as soon as they kind of sniff anything that's wrong, I think they're just fast to just be like, yeah, let's make an example of them. And then hopefully some of the other orgs that are partnered are like, hold up, they're willing to do this. Like, we need to step up our game. So I think like long term, it probably works well for Riot as well, just making an example of them.
I do think what is crazy though is what we heard from some of the players, where they were tweeting out that they basically only found out that their org was not going to be playing in VCT next year 30 minutes before the tweet went out publicly for everyone to see, which is absolutely wild for those players that were actively on the roster, and also for the rumors of players like Asvas who were possibly going to be joining this team, who have now been put in this position where very late into the offseason, where a lot of teams have already locked in their rosters and decided who they're going to be playing with next year, to lose your opportunity that you thought was secure or that was pending confirmation, and now have to be kind of scattered for the wind to find something new. Because especially I think for Pacific players that do speak English that could go international, early in the offseason, you have a lot of potential to maybe get picked up by an Americas or an EMEA team if you're good enough to do it. But this late in the offseason, I think it's really hard-pressed to actually find an opportunity to make up for it. So I really hope whatever the reason is that they got the boot was worth it, because this is gonna big time fuck over the players that were on BleED.
That kind of puts the onus on Riot, but I don't think.
Yeah,
I
think that is a little unfair.
There was an employee that said that they knew about this a week prior to the announcement, like a BleED employee.
So you're saying you think that like BleED just didn't inform their players?
It's negligence on BleED again to not inform the players like ahead of time and not put that into motion. Like I'm sorry, but I feel bad for the players and the coaches as well. And I'm gonna listen. I don't mean to brown nose my employer, but I'm gonna do it. But I feel like they did give BleED a heads up. But maybe Riot themselves should have given a direct heads up as well. Because to be honest, if you're already removing BleED as an org because they haven't been meeting, the partnership agreements in the first place, then what?
Surely they'll tell the players.
Surely they'll tell the players.
Exactly
that they're losing their livelihoods. No, okay, so yeah, maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part, but yeah.
I do want to kind of challenge the idea that this is late into the off season, because in theory, it's kind of just begun. Like that, like today was when it begins. Now that is just, in my opinion, a technicality.
Begins.
Exactly, because technically it's just beginning, but like half the teams have already got their rosters sorted, as you're saying. Yeah. So I think this is more of an issue with like a systemic issue, that we're kind of beginning the off season too late here. The off-season rules need to be aligned, and maybe they will end up being aligned in 2025, where the free agency stuff and the contracts are ending. They got to be ending like almost immediately after Champions, man. Like a small period of time for teams to renegotiate afterwards, but then we got to be getting onto this stuff like pretty damn quickly.
Did they not push it to this point because of Ascension?
They might
Yes,
do, yeah.
but again, if you're not planning, like that's good, that's all well and good for the Ascension teams, but the Ascension players are also not even going to be able to find spots on teams if the teams themselves are, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it kind of feels like you'd almost need to run Ascension before Champs in some kind of way in order to, and to be honest, if you ran Ascension before Champs, you could even use a wildcard slot and get the winner of Ascension into Champs as well, which would be a sick system, but they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I do feel really bad for the Lakia, the coach, and because did everyone like Champs ended like what 60 days ago, and pretty much within the 10 days after Champs, even while Champs is going on, orgs are picking up coaches. This is pretty much how it works these days. Pick up a coach, and then that coach decides like who's going into the team. So this guy has no hope of getting a team really. Like in tier 1, he has no hope. His whole year's wrecked. So I feel pretty bad for him. And yeah, I mean, if they knew early, man, I think it's just handled terribly because the players are wrecked and and this guy just, I mean, what can he do? He thinks he has a whole job for next year. He thinks he's getting Aspas, and then like this guy's thinking he's going to make a super team. Pretty much, right? He's getting one of the best, if not the best player in the world. And then 30 minutes, he finds out and then he sees the official. Like, I feel really bad for him, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is like the worst thing ever. Because he just has to take a year off, pretty much. Or grind from tier 2. Because no one's going to pick him up. There's no team looking for a coach right now. Yes, go assistant
and
coach.
I guarantee that's not going to be as lucrative or as fulfilling an opportunity than what he would have had if this had gone through. We can't really know who it came down to, if it was negligence on BuZz's behalf, which is probable, if it was like Wyatt kind of making this decision with minimal notice to actually close out the deal or whatever. But no matter what, I think the real victim of this is just the players that are going to be put in a really, really bad position now. And I also think it is worth talking specifically about what that means for Aspas now, because if the rumors are true, it seems like he was pretty deep into negotiations to go play with BeYN and maybe move over to Korea and compete there. And now having to pivot away from that and maybe try and find another Pacific team or a team back in Americas. Obviously, he's the GOAT. A lot of teams are going to want him, but he also probably has a pretty large buyout that another org is going to have to figure out how to pay if they want to take him.
And this is the ripple effect, right? So Lev don't get the buyout, like whatever that is, like $250,000, something around there, probably plus. So they don't get that buyout, so they then don't have the money to then buy other players that were rumored for them. So that kind of messes it all up. And then Aspas was expecting to get so much that his expectations are crazy high. So I'm not sure any org's even going to go for that. Maybe like one of the Chinese teams or something. But most of these teams already have kind of built anyway. It's just such a brutal timing. It really is for just everyone.
The report again from Juan, who just writes articles on VLR, which I also don't think that what he wrote was accurate, but he was alluding to the fact that this was supposed to be like a record size salary for Aspas. I think you could put 2 and 2 together there and make a pretty decent guess about that, even if you didn't have any knowledge. But you could imagine that it's going to be a sizable salary. And I should note as well that one of the things that I'd been told about Bleed was that the likelihood was that it was incompetence in terms of paying things late, not in terms of like not having the proper backing and that kind of stuff, or running out of money.
Just pay for fucking like QuickBooks. I don't know, man. How hard is it?
But esports just attracts such incompetent people. I mean, we're surrounded by them here on Plat Chat constantly. Let's move on to talking about Leviatán though, because I think that that's a really important knock-on effect, right? They've announced that they've released Mazino, and the last thing that we saw in terms of people to replace Aspas and Mazino were rumors about, and just rumors, not reports, about Demon One and Supamen, as far as I can see, was the last person that people saw trialing for the smoke spot for Lev. But that was ages ago. That was like 2 weeks ago or something, the last leak to come out of that camp. So who the hell knows what's going on there? How likely do you think it is, Sliggy, that knock-on effect that you've described does happen rather than just we can't get as much for. So maybe they're able to sell Aspas, but not for the same amount that they were looking for. Can they pass that down the chain to NRG, for example, and say, listen, we would have paid your buyout for Demon 1, but Aspas got trolled. So we're getting trolled. Now we're going to troll you. And it just kind of like, you know, everything still works, but for less money. Do you see that happening? Or do you think there will be enough purchasing power, enough demand for these kind of players like Aspas and Demon 1 that the buyouts stay high?
There should be enough demand. I think as long as like Aspas and his agents are like relatively understanding that it's a rough situation, that they're not going to get the same offer as BuZz was having. Lev pretty much should always be able to get their buyout met, I imagine. So that bit of money I kind of have no worries about. I just think that the kind of whatever Aspas is expecting from other teams, that probably needs to be lowered more than anything else, like salary wise. I think Lev should be okay as long as this guy gets sold, and then I think it's all right.
I have a thought on Aspas, if I'm allowed.
Yeah.
It was interesting last time you had a thought on Aspas.
Okay, hear me out here. Aspas says he wants to play in APAC, right? Says he wants that. We need an org with money in APAC, with some sort of connection already there. ZETA Division head coach Carlisle.
Yep.
Brazilian. Aspas to ZETA Division. Learns Japanese, becomes the face of Japanese.
He loves Japan. He plays the game in Japanese.
He plays the game in Japanese. Aspas to ZETA Division. Import slot. Put him in. He smurfs, becomes the face of Japan.
The face of Japan.
And suddenly, like 10 years on, we're not talking loud Aspas. We're not talking Lev Aspas. We're thinking, when we think ZETA Division, we think Aspas.
I like it. I mean, I actually like it. I think that's one of the most. I don't want to say that's one of the most realistic things. No, I do think that's reasonable.
Okay,
I really do, because like you got to think of.
you were going for out of pocket.
Yeah, you were going for really bold, but I think that's one of the most likely outcomes. Other than like a Chinese team, give me something else that's more likely than that. All of these American orgs have pretty much got their thing. The thing that's most likely is he stays with Lev, to be honest.
Yeah, that's entirely possible, right? He might stay with Leviatán. I mean, he might. Do you think there's any chance that like Kayak to Fnatic doesn't happen, and he ends up going to Fnatic?
But if you were gonna, you would just get Darker, surely, for cheaper.
Durka's already gone,
Yeah,
and maybe not cheaper. I mean, we don't know. We know that Fnatic renegotiate salaries, and if Aspas is willing to, like, ZETA are not going to be throwing money around, are they? I don't know.
They have a lot of money.
The thing is, to me, that I don't think you're bringing up like Kayak to Fnatic failing and then maybe them paying for Aspas. I don't see that happening. I feel like all of like Fnatic's decisions the last few off seasons have been so much around find the new talent that we can get for cheap, and we can like build them into a superstar player around a few of our experienced members. I don't think I just don't read that they're the team that is going to go out there and drop like $500,000 or however much Aspas costs to get someone like him and bring him into the system, especially with how some of the stuff went wrong with Lev this year. I feel like they don't want a superstar. To me, it seems like they need someone who is a very talented player who they can mold into their system, which I just don't know if that's Aspas.
Let's talk for a moment, though, about Leviatán releasing Mazino as well. So Mazino, looking like he's leaving, well, he is leaving Leviatán. They haven't properly officially released him. But he ended up being the stage 2 MVP, I think, of the finals. Of
the grand finals, yeah.
Right, of the grand finals. And the players that they're looking to replace him, they don't have, well, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but Xander's probably going over to 100 Thieves. Bang's going over to Sentinels. Who are you looking at to replace this guy? And is it possible that you're getting an upgrade here for Lev?
I don't think so.
I feel like no matter which way you slice it, you're getting a downgrade.
Yeah. I think so. I can't think of anyone really. Unless
no one comes to mind that is as good on like that niche role. I feel like the role he filled for this team was such a specialist. He was I think was the best when he was playing Harbor, when he was playing Breach, and I felt like on both those roles he had a very unique style. Not a lot of guys can go out there, play Breach, have as good of supportive utility as him, and set his teammates up as well as he did, and then also go out there and put up insane numbers throughout that grand finals that he played in. It's not like he was in positions where he was set up to be a superstar. He played Breach, Deadlock, Brimstone, and just went nuclear on every one of those roles. He to me feels like a pretty unique player that I don't know who isn't already locked up on a team in Americas could actually come in, and I could be confident that they could match or improve the performances he had on Lev.
Yeah, there's people like Superman, Scuba.
Like they're trialing Superman.
There was a leak like 2 weeks ago that they were trialing.
The image
Superman,
just leaked.
Yeah, I know it's
Lev
bonkers.
player is Com.
I know this is bonkers, but it was also Mada and Superman were both trialing for Lev at the time.
How do people know that?
It's 4-2.
But how do you know that's Lev?
I mean, because Com's there.
Because Com is on the
But
team.
what if
Com
Com's
is
also
up for...
trialing for a different team?
A mixed team with Mada, Superman, and Com. Yeah, I mean,
what if
okay.
Com's also trialing.
So, okay, all right, possible. But let's keep that in the back of our minds.
I'm just saying, why is this confirmed Lev? Do we know it's confirmed Lev?
I don't know. A guy who does a lot of the reporting of like leaked who's scrimming with or who's trialing for who was put this up as well. They attached a screenshot with it too. I don't know whether they also went out and asked somebody on top of that to make sure that was the case. I don't know, but I would say that.
So we're just making stuff up now, huh?
Oh, we're making stuff up all
We're
off
just making stuff up now,
That's
huh?
the whole of the offseason.
That's the whole of the offseason.
That's what this show does, Brett.
I mean, to be clear, this isn't a report that's come out from like a journalist that has a lot of not experience. What word am I looking for? Like validity and has been correct a lot of times. This is just the last leak that came out of the camp was that they were playing with Superman for like a short period of time. Mazino though is going over to Crew. He's going back to Crew. What do you think about that move?
I like that. I like that. I like that for him. I like that for Crew, to be honest. I think that it should suit them pretty well. Dude, he just had such a good year, like performance-wise. I think that's a great pickup for Crew. I'm pretty much down for it. They got rid of Heat, right?
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Did they get rid of Heat or did Heat leave?
I think
I'm not 100%
just left.
about
I don't know.
I feel like that's more likely because he was so good for them all year that I feel like he wouldn't have. He says in this tweet, "Hi everyone, I'm here to inform you that Crew chose not to continue with me for next season."
That's fucking insane to me.
That's wild
dude.
to me.
He was
played so
unreal
well.
last year. He was actually unreal. He was what Havoc thought he should be. Like, my God, dude. He was owning on the initiator role. He just like stepped in, was always consistently putting up insane numbers and setting up his team really well.
Okay, but at the same time, there are plenty of Brazilian teams that would love to pick Heat back up.
That's very true. Like, he's getting picked up. Like, he'll be fine.
Yeah,
his year was so good that he'll get picked
remember,
up.
there's also now another Brazilian team that has joined America.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true as well,
if he is not in America's next year, Brazil is hyper trolling.
When I said that about Digizine not getting picked up last year, and he wasn't, I was shocked at that. I don't know. Strange things happen sometimes in the off season.
I think though that Heat
should get picked up.
Heat has the same value that Digizine has in terms of being a really, really competent duelist player, but also Heat has just also proven that he's a really good initiator player, can provide similar levels of production while playing that initiator role. And I haven't heard as much about Heat in terms of being like a friction-causing personality. Maybe he is. Maybe that's part of the reason.
We used to on his old teams, right? Like, what was it, MIBR that he was on?
Yeah.
There was rumors that he was the guy causing some of the problems in the team, that like him and the coaches were clashing and it wasn't happening. And then he stepped away. I mean, like,
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he literally got kicked off MIBR, the worst team in the league, saw the light of God, went to join Crew, and then locked in. And I mean, we didn't hear anything about him being a bad teammate. In fact, in interviews, the Crew guys talked that he was a great addition to the team. So it does really seem like if that was in his past, which it seems like it was on MIBR, he did better himself on Crew, and is postured to be a better teammate now.
On Crew for a year just to correct and grow the frontal lobe. It's just it's a necessity. I think
Crew and Esports school for boys.
Yeah, you mold them like a military school.
They need
teach your
owner
child
back.
discipline. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Like, listen, if there's any coaches or players watching us, firstly, why are you doing that? But secondly, dude, there's an important lesson to be learning from a lot of why a player is good or why a coach it might be good and not getting picked up. You need to be good to work with. You need to actually get along with people. You need to be able to communicate. You need to not hold your team hostage over a disagreement. You need to be able to somehow, at some point, possibly even concede your point of view, even though if you think you're right and the other person's wrong, sometimes you have to meet in the middle ground. I know esports is filled with young men, and I was also a young man at one point. And let me tell you, I was a fucking idiot, and I'm still an idiot now. And I know exactly what it's like. I can relate very heavily to it, but just if there's one thing you can take away from any of this, and if you're listening to anyone here, just listen to me right now. I know that's not a wise thing, but just listen to me. Just be reasonable. Grow your frontal lobe like the Grinch grows his heart on Christmas, and stop being little Timmy here with the bow tie up, and start and listen, throwing a little tantrum, arms crossed, being like, I didn't want to read this cop. Listen, I'm not saying this is any player out there. I'm not saying this is Heat, even though we're talking about Heat. I'm not saying this. I don't know this. I'm not in the walls. I don't speak Portuguese. I don't know him like that. But I've heard enough little horror stories ticking over about individuals, young people in esports, who just act like these little fucking, you act like a little children because you weren't far off being a child. You weren't far you weren't far off being a child. So just fucking pack it in, okay? Pack it in. Act like an adult. Be reasonable to work with, and suddenly you'll have way more job security than the top ranking player who decides to fucking throw a fit for some reason. I mean, just life lesson to everybody.
That's what I mean. You were talking about that last week in terms of Yampy, right? Like people really want to play with Yampy because he adds a lot of that like good interpersonal stuff. And for example, why has Sliggy never gone back to coaching? Because all of the reasons that you were talking about. Brent.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's an ego child. Yeah, but I think I mean you actually touched on a really good spot, and I think Yampy's a good example of just like when you work like day in day out. Some people do like 7 days a week as well when it gets like really hardcore. Having like a person that uplifts everyone's like motivation and mentality is the best thing ever, because it does drag on. Like you are practicing, you're doing the same map pretty much like 4 times in a day, and then you're VOD reviewing the same map. Like it is relatively like boring, some of the stuff that you're doing, so it's nice to have someone that is like super nice to be around. And when you have people that aren't nice to be around, it's not great. It does just drag you down. Like that's when people start getting burnt out.
The grind can certainly be difficult, and I think that's one of the reasons why some teams don't last very long as well. And so I want to move us on to a team that I think most people would have expected to last a bit longer, but it's another 1 year and done roster. It's Gen.G. Gen.G, after being the best team of last year, we were speculating about this happening because we've seen it happen before. We've genuinely seen it happen so many times before. The team that was super, super good, or the team that wins champions, either can't hold on to their players or has some kind of interpersonal issue or whatever it is, and they end up being scattered to the winds come the offseason. This isn't a complete breakup, though. They are keeping Texture, Karen, and HSK.
I don't hate this.
Okay.
I know a lot of people hate this. I don't hate this at all. I think if there was a replaceable player, Lakia is one of them. I think if there's a replaceable IGL,
but he's the
Munchkin's
Lakia of Valorant, Bren.
I know Lakia is a Lakia of Valorant, and he has had good moments, but he looked at times like he was... Listen, if he wasn't surrounded by 4 players that were consistently putting up unreal performances in individual moments, then it would have been pretty rough for him. Meteor, I don't really agree with them releasing Meteor, but yeah, I want to roll this back actually and talk about, at some point we were talking about Gen.G having financial problems. Some point, yeah. I'm pretty sure on an episode we were talking about that.
Were we?
Yeah, we were. I didn't dream this.
That?
I didn't fucking dream this. I swear to God this happened. And then someone on Reddit was like, they're not doing well financially. And I was like, I thought this as well. And then Arnold was like, where the heck did this narrative come from? I'm pretty sure it came from their fucking personal Discord. I don't know, man. I'm not sure what the fuck they're chatting, but I swear to God, I need some help here. Tell me right now, am I crazy? Or did at
Give
some
me
point,
more context. In what way?
They had
when
financial
did this
problems.
happen?
They were like,
this
I thought
year?
they were like, they were like, we can't compete. These teams in APAC are just like unsustainable with the salaries they're offering a lot of these players. Blah, 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 blah. I thought it was Gen.G going off about that shit.
What year was
like,
this?
This was this last year. This year.
Oh,
this
really?
Year.
I don't
This year?
remember it, but that the context that you're giving of complaining about other teams offering ridiculous salaries also doesn't mean that they're struggling financially. It just means they're not one of the like teams that throws bags around. Like Arnold's response was that they're in the, what did he say, the middle of the upper quartile or something like that?
They're upper middle class. They're
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah, like I think he said average in the top quartile of teams. So I don't know why he's phrased it like that at all, but that
Yeah,
would
that's
mean
very-
they're in the,
That's the most I have an MBA ass phrasing I've ever heard.
but also that just means like about the 12.5 percentage, right? So like top.
Wait, sorry, pull this up again.
Like top
Hold on, Let's
eight.
work this
Dude,
out.
he's-
Let's work this out. Do the
Bren,
math.
I'm trying to back you up here, and I searched Gen.G financial issues, and all I found is remarks by Ambassador Gen.G Xuan at the UN Security Council briefing on the UNAMA.
That's not
There's
what I
a
was
Chinese
referring to.
ambassador named Gen.G, but
That's not what I was
I
referring
don't
to.
think there's any reports of financial issues.
I can tell you that there is something interesting in terms of Gen.G's financials that I've been digging into recently, which I'll post in the doc here.
Wait, this
too.
guy's doing journalism?
Yeah, which is
Apparently
that
so, yeah.
they are one of the first teams that I've seen that look like they are taking advantage of what's known as the Qiddiya Club program that Saudi Arabia is offering, wherein you get paid to move to Riyadh and then you move to Qiddiya afterwards. They build you like a $10 million facility, but you have to move one of your esports teams permanently to Saudi Arabia and also invest super heavily, like sign 6 executives of your company who are all from Saudi, like go mega in on Saudi Arabia, like super in on it. A lot of the orgs said that it's not even a good idea financially, and Gen.G were like, sign me up, brother. Like almost instantly. So I don't know whether that says that they are looking for money, or they have money, or they're just greedy, or
Wait.
they have no ethics. I don't know. I don't know what it says. But
What if they're dropping their players so that they could make a big pickup? I've heard there's someone in Saudi Arabia who is a big gamer who might want to play for this team. MBS.
oh yeah,
They're signing him for 2025 VCT.
that's a great idea. That's a really, really solid idea. That's that looks like it'll be no brand issues whatsoever.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Dude, I just can't believe they're getting rid of. I'll be honest. I can understand Lakia. I can't understand Munchkin and Meteor. Like they must have just been like, we can hold on to a few of them. Like some of the offers the other guys were getting were loads, and they were just like, let's pick 2. But I think Munchkin and Meteor is crazy. But they also are like free agents, and this can be a ploy that players do, and I think a lot of players should do this as well, to be a free agent and then just like check all your offers around and at least like post it, so that puts pressure on Gen.G to then be like, okay, sure, we'll give you what you wanted. So it's not like 100% that they're not going to Gen.G.
But at the same time, right, Meteor has talked about the fact that Meteor seemed like it was a bit of a interpersonal dynamic thing going on, rather than just Gen.G didn't like having him on the team or something like, or it's like a financial ploy. It seems like Meteor was having some, I don't know, interpersonal or emotional issues. There's like a big translated thing from his stream where he was talking about how he struggled at the end of the season, essentially. And he said that he said, quote, "I really wanted to stay with Gen.G, and I even talked to the org about it. But after we won an international tournament, I figured that for both me and my teammates, salaries would increase and each player would eventually move to the best situation for themselves. Felt like we're all in this uncertain state. I even asked teammates and coaches, but no one could give a clear answer. That uncertainty made things even harder." So I think it's, to me, when I'm looking at this, I think it's very similar to what we've seen before, where the players just want to be paid as they are, which is the best team in the world, like for that year, and the org isn't willing to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Which doesn't mean that they're like baroque, but it means that it's.
I think they're brokies.
You think so?
Yeah, I think they're fucking brokies, man.
They
If you're
spend
not-
so
listen.
much money on League. I swear they spend millions on
dude,
League. Bro.
I've seen their fucking facility. They got shit up in Gangnam, dude. I'm telling you, the rent there is astronomical. You have to be a trust fund child to afford shit there. Like, they have got money. They're just not fucking spending it on this team because
They're
of
spending
whatever
it on
reason.
League of Legends, where they make like $12 billion a
Do they
year.
even make money from League? Isn't League dying?
They what?
I mean, not LCK.
Isn't
No.
Right. In
Dude,
America,
every time I'm surrounded by League people, they're constantly fucking umming and ahhing about their game dying.
And where are those league people from?
That's everyone
Like,
that plays every
some in-
game, Bren. Like
in
everyone who
Korea,
plays
yeah,
every
that's
game
true.
goes,
Yeah.
yeah, the game's dying. It's dead. It comes out literally 1 week later. Game's dead. It's dying. And then they're all getting like popular. We do new stats, new games out, new stats, more people, monthly viewers. Like we're going up. The most ever monthly players. Game's dead. Every single game has this. Just ignore them. It's
Yeah.
fine. Look at the stats. Like when the stats say that the game's increasing, the game's
Worlds
increasing.
is going on at the moment, and I think it's set to set a viewership record. And a lot of that is
Worlds
coming
always
from
does that.
Korea.
That's always a world.
What does that mean?
And that means else league is dying.
Yeah, I've heard from reputable sources that League is dying.
It's a rule of economics, okay? It's a rule of economics. You look up League of Legends Rule 34 inflation, and it just shows it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, that's the rule that Bren's talking about. Have a Google of it, and then get
Don't
back to us.
Google that.
Don't Google
Do
that.
not Google
Now
that.
let's talk about Gen.G.
Do not
again.
Google that.
Do you think that the core of Texture, Karen, and HSK, without an IGL, is also going to be still able to put together a
Yes.
good team next year?
Oh,
Yes.
hell yeah.
Yes.
Okay, with who are calling then?
Who calling? Whoever the fuck they want. Mold anyone. Get a blood boy from Hiko. I don't fucking care. Fucking mold anyone, motherfucker. You got HSK in this team. I was talking about Gen.G. I said the one thing they need to keep, head coach HSK, because guess what? Recurring theme over the course of the entire fucking year was every press conference, Munchkin being asked specific questions about the decision making in game, and him just gassing the fuck up the coaching staff about how they told him what to think about going into this match, what to think about going into this is here. Munchkin wasn't a good IGL before Gen.G. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think it's the coaching staff that needs to be given a lot of the credit here for molding him into a good IGL, into the meta that we had of that year, which is high risk taking. Make sure you're getting that mid round information by doing these deep pushes as well, and making sure you're making plays off of that. And Munchkin fits that really nicely of that play style. But I think that HSK has proven to me, at least from this year, that he can mold a player that I thought was below average into a stellar IGL player. And I mean, partly that's going to be on Munchkin as well for having that potential too that I didn't even realize that was met. Credit to him. Hope he finds a great team. Hope he gets a bag somewhere else. But I think Gen.G will be able to do that with another player. They will be able to mold anyone. They can fucking mold me, for God's sake, and I'm hard stuck Ascendant.
I don't think that's true.
They could not.
They
I
could.
do
They
not
could.
think
I
that's
could
true.
do it. I could do it.
Okay. Here's the proof that they couldn't. Can we?
I could do it. Alice telling me to stop. Alice is telling me to stop speaking Korean. I could do it.
I don't think you could, because if we go back in time a little bit, HSK, before he was the coach of Gen.G, he was the coach of a little team. Not many people know them, but they're known as DFM, Detonation Focus Me, who famously didn't win shit.
Yeah, but you
in
could also
2023.
counter that with Heretics. You go, Heretics won nothing with the coaches and 1 year, and then they got rid of some players, same coaches, and they're one of the best teams in the world.
But my point being is that just because they've had good coaching this year and they've achieved something great by molding these players, I don't think means they're destined for perfect success just because they've kept a coach, just because they've kept a core. Because I think arguably the two most important players on this team, in my eye, were Munchkin and Meteor, and if they're leaving, especially if they're going somewhere together, I think that team, in my opinion, is set to be one of the scariest prospects here. And obviously the coaching is important, but I still think filling a gap as big as 3 players being off your team is going to be really, really tough.
Did they not sign Solo?
I haven't seen that they extended Solo's
Oh, no.
contract.
Let
me check the database. No, Solo has a 2025 contract, so yes.
Oh, yeah, they did sign
kept
Solo. Okay.
Yeah.
We're fine.
Yeah, they've still got Solo HSK.
fine.
All right, would you expect them to go for somebody that's had experience IGLing in the past, somebody like a Zest or a Stax, something like that? Or would you expect them to go... They're not going to go... Jesus Christ. Or would you expect them to go the route that HSK took with... No, it wasn't HSK, was it? Sorry, it was somebody else, wasn't it, that scouted Caron? No, it was it was HSK before Solo joined the team. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember now. HSK scouted Karen before Solo joined the team, and then put the roster together, and then Solo became the head coach. Would you expect them to go more that route where they rely heavily on the scouting potential?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the reason that they're not signing the big players because of money stuff, then you would imagine they go a route of finding new players like this.
Brent, you've been playing a lot of APAC rank. Quickly, who are they going to sign?
Fucking 5 players from Ascendant. I'll tell you right now, straight up. You can get 5 Reina players. Can I get a name? No, I don't know. I don't know what their names are. They're immaterial. They're ethereal. You go into the game, they move like fucking. They move like a snake across the Sahara Desert. They're different. They're different out there. I'm telling you right now. I've come back to NA, and it's like the other players are playing in slow motion. The only difference is I can fucking communicate now. I'm like, I genuinely feel like I'm smurfing in NA, and the APAC just shoot different. They just shoot different. If they went into, I don't fucking know, just start scouting, go to random PC bangs around Seoul, and just start fucking looking over the shoulder of players gaming. And you'll find cracked players that you can mold. I'm telling you right now, there's a wealth of talent in that region. It just needs to be tapped.
One of the players I would most like them to tap is the former IGL of Rare Atom, back when that team was doing really, really well in China, where they had the star player was a Korean guy called Stu, and then they had their IGL Yoman. And they decided when they went into like China proper, they could only have one import, and they decided to drop their IGL, which I think is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. But they decided to drop their IGL instead of their superstar player, and I think that would be one of the players that I would be looking towards, because he's got experience and he was super good when he was calling for that team. Like, they played such good Valorant. So I'd like to see him being like one of the potential players that they bring up, because I don't know what he's doing at the moment, actually. I haven't been following his career, but I think he's playing at like tier 2 somewhere in Korea. While we're talking about this, though, Munchkin. Team Secret responded to Munchkin's tweet. Munchkin, by the way, tweeted that he was a free agent for 9 hours. Just on a surface level, what do you guys think about that? Because that immediately is like ringing alarm bells in my head.
Insane, but also that makes me feel like it's just like a team already wanted him, and the posting of free agency was just like putting pressure on the org that already wanted him to, hey, send me an offer because I'm on the market and other people are going to take it, and seems like it worked out. So I can only imagine this was a team that was already headhunting this guy.
But then why sign within 9 hours? Why not wait a little bit and see if you get like another offer and try to bargain against each other?
Maybe.
If you were happy, if you like had an offer in your head that you were like ready for, and you had a team that you wanted to join, but then they didn't
what if it's
quite
your dream
get there.
Team?
Yeah, it's like a really good team, and then
Munchkin's dream team is not Gen.G, where
no, it's a team that's really big in Korea. That's been the face of Korean Valorant. That just lost 3 of their players. But
it isn't. It's
Team
Secret. More Korean team. You think it's actually Team Secret?
It isn't.
I mean, I don't know whether it actually is.
Just bait?
Why would they bet? Okay, if you're Team Secret, it's the worst PR move of all time to say, hey guys, we're getting Munchkin, hey! And then you actually sign like a not as good Korean player.
It's someone from Ranked. As Brent just attested, they're the GOATs.
I mean,
it could be any guy.
It's possible, but like, it is super possible. If they, it could be somebody else. I just don't think it makes any sense for Munchkin to only be a free agent for 9 hours, unless he was re-signing
it's like insecurity. Maybe he feels like, oh my god, I'm swindling this team. I got to accept this. I'm not going to get it any better anywhere else. Like, I don't know.
Imposter syndrome?
I mean, I think the only scenario where you don't wait out other offers is if you feel like you've got it as good as you can get.
Maybe he was just not in his hyper-capitalist era and was just like, I want to play with this team. These players seem great. Like, let's just send it.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, yeah, fair enough. I mean, if that's the case. Team Secret
that seems like a weird pickup. That seems like a strange pickup, though.
Yeah, it would be a super strange pickup.
It could be someone from DRX as well, right? We don't really know. It's just the timing
that's
of
what
it,
I
right?
wonder if some of these guys are going to DRX, because that would make the most sense to me if I'm on the best Korean team and they're not going to pay me enough money. Like, if I'm their direct competitor, DRX, I am trying to open up the bag to get these guys. And I mean, they have 3 slots open in their roster. 3 of the Gen.G players just left. If I'm their GM, I feel like I'm trying to go after these guys, especially a player like Munchkin, who had such a good year, to try and reform my own team a little bit.
Dude, they must be getting offers. Like T1 as well. T1's like an org that splashes money around as well. They said they're going.
Who is also blowing up their roster right now.
Yeah, these guys definitely got loads of offers.
T1 also said that they were trying to focus on a talent pipeline. Bro, if your talent pipeline is just buying people that bombed out the best
pipeline
team
is
from
called
last year,
Gen.G.
that's not a pipeline. that's you just
I
Who
thought
said
they're
that on
expensive,
T1?
Josh.
Who said that on T1?
Joe Marsh.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about Joe Marsh?
Um,
From every report I've heard, terrible at his job.
Jesus.
yeah,
That's just what
Yeah.
I've heard. Never met the
That's-
guy in person, but actually, I have met him on like a interview call one time. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, but yeah, just reportedly not great at his job.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard he's done a lot. Like, Kurt, do you want to head down to the Philly Fusion Arena and catch an Overwatch game later?
Yeah, I'm down.
Back.
I don't even know if that was him. I don't know. We're just
no, I
attributed
have no idea.
I don't know if that was.
all sorts. T1 are a mismanaged, messed over of a team.
They're supposed to be announcing their roster today, by the way, but we're gonna delay that topic until they do,
Okay.
like if they do.
It was
But
an
I do
update-
want to talk
a
about.
quick update on that.
Yeah.
I think they posted that they were going to make an announcement today, and then they announced that they're keeping their coaching staff, I think, and then also posted we're going to announce players tomorrow. So they announced an announcement. That's my
I
understanding.
love announcing
but I'll
announcements.
keep
That's
an
how you
eye-
build hype.
eye on it.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. No, I feel even more excited now. Okay, well, fuck T1 then, I guess. We'll talk about them later on, but we don't have anything to discuss necessarily. Let's talk about DRX, I think, though, because you're talking about potentially the Gen.G players going over to DRX. I was not expecting the amount of players that DRX dropped. I was hoping, honestly, that they would drop a couple of players. I think that roster needed a couple of tweaks. I think it had some good potential, but I was certainly the one that caught me the most off guard was them dropping BuZz.
This is surprising.
Dude, BuZz after the year he had as well.
After the champs he had?
But this must be someone poaching him. Like, this has to be someone poaching him because that's... Like, he played so well. Like, so well. He's, like, solo carrying them on a lot of maps.
Yeah.
Like, looking like, honestly, one of the best duelists, like, top 5, you would have to say, like, last year. If you watched all the regions, like he was. So for them to let go of him, that's a big fumble, surely.
I was very shocked at this because when I was watching them at champs, I was like, wow, this roster has a lot of potential, and they just need like international level experience. I think a lot of experience playing on the stage because the nerves were playing a factor in their final game versus Heretics. You could tell that because it was the only international event they made all year with this team, and I was like really looking forward to the next year, assuming that this DRX roster would stay together because it was all starting to click towards the end, but then nope. Blown it up. So.
I don't actually get it. Like I don't get what they're doing over there because they got their original team and they were getting top 4s, and so you were like, okay, they were like 5th to 6th. That's pretty
top
good.
3 once.
Yeah, and then this year they changed it all up, and you're like, okay, younger players surely going for a long-term thing. And now they had a pretty good champs. I feel like they did good. Like they kind of peaked at the right time. Now what are they doing? I don't get it. Are we just
bizarre.
reforming and just getting the old boys back?
I think
what's going on?
I do think, though, that they've tried Foxy9 for long enough and not seen anything amazing out of the guy that I'm super happy that they make a change over there. They give him Foxy9 a long time and a lot of in and out. They gave him a full season this season after we were complaining they hadn't given him a full try in 2023. They had good results with BeYN, with that old like Stacks roster, and then BeYN wasn't really super impressive towards the end of their run, but he was doing his job, and I think he was a good player. But I think it made sense to look actively for a replacement for Foxy9, and then maybe replace BeYN if you had a good talent that was sat there that you really believed in. But I was only expecting them to make 1.5 changes, you know, like change Foxy9, maybe change BeYN if it fits. But the idea of going for 3 dropped, including BuZz,
I think
that's
BuZz
the part
was,
that baffles me.
I think BuZz was shopping around. I don't think it's BuZz
Yeah, no, that
didn't
has
job
to
at
be.
a team.
I think there's no way they let him go in like BuZz to Gen.G. I don't know.
T1,
No,
I
I
think
think
makes
It
the most
has
sense.
to be T1 because they got
Yeah.
rid of
They dropped Saya. You don't drop Saya for anyone like crap.
Yeah, it's got to
right?
be BuZz then.
Dude, there better be a T1 super team from all of this. Look at what's going down. There has to be.
If all the
There
Korean
has to
teams
be,
just
dude.
blow up their rosters and then there's not like a T1
Yet,
super
and
team,
yet
I feel like
still
that
won't
is
have
it.
faith.
Who is, just as a tangent here, what does a Korean super team currently look like with the knowledge that you can't get, well, unless you're DRX, you can't get Mako or Flashback. Unless you're Gen.G, you can't get Texture or Karen. So what does that Korean super team look like?
Gen.G as the
Old
as the org.
DRX.
Gen.G 2023.
I think it would be Gen.G as that's your foundation, because I think you've got a very proven coaching staff. You have phenomenal players in the form of Karen and Texture. You bring BuZz in because BuZz has showed a willingness to flex before, and he was phenomenal when he was flexing. He just kind of like fell into the duelist role more. At least that was DRX getting the most success out of him. But I think he's proven that he can play other roles. I'm not saying I would want him on Killjoy again, but BuZz is just phenomenal. So I think you could maybe even slot him into like a flex position. And then IGL they've already proven they can mold an IGL. Like I said, Blood Boy from Hiko might do the job. Anybody you want, like just pick him up and mold them into a good IGL. And then what are we missing? One
I
more
don't think
Sentinel
that's
player.
a super team though. I feel like the more I think about it, the more I think a super team is impossible unless you're like stealing the pieces that
I think
are
the super
already
team
had by DRX and Gen.G.
I think the super
BuZz?
team has to begin with DRX. Because
What?
Why?
So I think
What do you mean?
it has to be DRX that are building the super team for it to be a super team, because they have the
not
access
T1?
to the best talent. Because T1 are not starting with anybody, so you've only got BuZz, Foxy9, BeYN, Munchkin, Lakia, and Meteor to work with. I feel like DRX have got a good starting point because you have an IGL already. I mean, you could pick up Munchkin and get Mako back onto not IGLing. I think they've got the best chances of being able to.
See, I think
To get
T1
something.
does, because you would go Stacks, BuZz, Izu,
Okay.
and then Meteor, Munchkin.
Why have you got? Do you think that Stax is a good enough player if he's not
Yeah.
IGLing?
Yeah.
See, I'd rather have Zest if he's not IGLing. But I mean, again, there's probably better players that are hanging around in tier 2, to be honest, that we are unaware of.
Dude, Freeing's pretty good. There's a lot of
But
good
I
players.
think this is proof that it's like I don't think we're gonna get a true Korean super team because I think you
we
would
better,
want.
bro.
But how are they going to when Mako is locked up with DRX, when Gen.G is let go half of their roster and they've held on to the rest that have proved to be like the best team of 2024? I just I don't see any team making a true like super team. I think you
I don't
can
think
make
we'll see a
probably a
super
strong
team.
roster out of these players, but I almost wonder if these moves are gonna like stratify the Korean talent a little bit across these different rosters and boom them a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my
We
fear.
won't
with all
see a
this.
super team with current players in Korea. It'll be when we're talking about a super team, we'll be like, oh wow, it'll be next year, this year, whatever's being built with talent that's being developed. I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
Korea.
It's hard
the
because
existing. Yeah.
the top two are in Gen.G.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's the hardest
Yeah.
point with the super team.
If
Two
Korea
best
doesn't have
are in
if Korea doesn't
Gen.G.
have some good teams though, they
I'll be
really have
pissed.
generationally choked, I think.
Yeah,
I'm just
pissed.
terrified of this ending up like Loud after 2023, where 2022, where
2022.
they win champions, their roster gets blown up, their talent moves across to different Brazilian teams, a couple people go to like other opportunities, and then it's just like kind of cooked from there on.
Dude,
Like,
they made the first final of 2023
yeah,
with
but
their new
after
roster.
that, it was the beginning of the fall off, is what I'm saying, and
Yeah,
that's
it was a
my
little.
worry.
Okay,
Mm.
so if Korea ends up choking, that's something to look at over the course of the offseason in terms of their roster development.
Yeah.
Now,
I wanna-
across the pond,
Can
go
I
on.
add in one more thing?
I
real
wanted to
quick?
move to Japan, but yeah, go on.
I think, but it's relevant to all the teams actually,
All right.
is that their decision making in terms of picking up players, money that they might have thought that they had is gone because of the partnership agreement changing. And kind of like these milestones that teams would otherwise have to hit and they would get rewarded by it. They would get incentives by Riot, whether that's monetary or what, I don't know. But I know that a lot of teams weren't happy that's going to be going next year. because it was like.
So you're speaking about the 400K that Riot was going to cut by stopping the content creation program, right?
Yeah, some level of that. And that can be like, you hire it, like Riot saying, you hire a co-streamer to co-stream the event. Like,
I'll put the
co-stream
link in the
this match, and we'll give you incentives like in that form. Teams, I think that was a consistent form of revenue for teams that they thought was going to be existing throughout the entire partnership agreement, and that's gone for next year, which is going to affect the decision-making of a lot of teams, where if players are asking for more money...
But I thought instead of this, they were doing another skin to support teams, or am I just completely cooked?
They said
Well, they're doing
that...
2025 skins again,
Yeah,
but
the
that was
normal
already in the
ones
books.
and champs. But is there then not another? Or have I just randomly made this up? Because
I
I
don't
thought
know.
I thought they were replacing the content.
The Riot Games response was, their official comment in this article was, we adjust the team payment structure every year. Going into 2025, we're putting a bigger focus on digital items since those are performing incredibly well thanks to the generosity of our fans. All in all, we expect significant growth in the total amount of money paid to teams by Riot, continuing the growth trajectory from the past 3 years. And then the final sentence of the article says that a smaller group of teams with sources close to Sheep Esports believe that their payout at the end of the 2025 season will be somewhat similar to what they receive in 2024 if the estimates are correct.
But I think that's...
Oh, okay. So it's
that's
the same, but they just think that the skins are going to make more.
But again,
that's
this
like
is
a-
coming off the back of a large group of these teams are unhappy with the changes,
Well, yeah,
primarily
just-
due to the timing, because they've already signed content creators and got told about it late.
And they just fucked them. Like, they just took away 300K from each team.
Sure,
Yeah,
but
it's-
I
mean,
get why they're pissed.
I'm
Holy
also
fuck.
not going to be like, to be a bit of an austerity Andy for a second. I feel like that had to have been like just burning money for kind of no reason for Riot. I mean, I pulled up some of these like official team co-streamers, and like the
Like Plat
majority of
chat.
them were not getting any viewership, and like most likely just being kind
had
of
to
a
get
waste
over
of money
1,000.
for Riot. Like,
Yeah, they had to
They had to get over 1,000 in order to qualify. So
Really?
Yeah. I think you got paid in tiers of viewership.
gotcha.
and
Yeah.
different
I still
languages
don't see.
paid
I
extra.
still don't see how that's a valuable program
I
for Riot
agree
versus
with
just
you,
like
Mimi.
putting more into the skins. Like that's it seems
Yeah.
like a waste to me.
no.
What people are just gonna go
agree.
watch an established co-streamer. They're not gonna go and watch
Like-
like random co-streamer for like Cloud9 or whatever.
The only people who benefit are like the co-streamers, like
Yeah.
me or whoever else was
And
signed
the
by
orgs.
what org. You, to an extent, they still have to pay, right? I mean,
Sure,
yeah,
but
I
they're
guess- I
they're
guess the
still
orgs.
getting, I think, more money than if they just didn't do it. They wouldn't
Yeah.
pay for these co-streamers if they weren't.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's move on to Japan, though. I want to talk about both of the Japanese teams, right? Because DFM have just gutted the place and kept their superstar player Meiy, which makes all the sense in the world. But they've also locked Meiy into a 2027 contract.
Is insane.
Shit.
So
I mean, if you
That's
knew
a-
how big Meiy was in Japan, I mean, you don't have to look far to even realize that, but you would realize why that makes some level of sense to them.
Man, we got robbed, bro, because we could have had the super team with Meiy and
Right.
Laz. Like it was
Oh,
Sugar
yeah.
Zero. Like
Ain't happening.
it could have happened, and then Laz is now gone, so we're never gonna get it. We're actually never gonna get the Japan super team because it would have been incredible. Because this guy is unbelievable. Like, he's actually a beast. Like I watched his I raided him one time. I watched his TDM. I sat there for 30 minutes just watching this guy in TDM. It's incredible, man. I can take my eyes off of it. He's incredible. He's so good. So,
but
it's
he's
sad
also
that we're
got
never
no
going to see
teammates.
this.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's gone
dude,
from having
he's,
no help to literally no help right
Yeah,
now. in the
he's
offseason.
going to be like the Japanese Cloud or
This-
something like that, where
this
it's like
doesn't-
could have been insane, but never gets to have the proper team.
Yeah, this doesn't count for much, but like it's very common for like fanboys to change their name to their favorite player in ranked. And I was playing so much Tokyo ranked in the off season for like last month, like easily the number one player that would pop up that I'd be playing against in Ascendant, just getting absolutely double dick down, is Meiy. I would just be getting owned by the Meiy fanboys constantly. He was massive. Weirdly enough, there was another player that was just absolutely. I was like, that is a strange player to be a fan of in the Tokyo servers. Who the hell was it? I'm gonna rack my brain for this. I think it might have been like someone like Governor.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm just throwing slander at Governor.
Well,
bro,
no, that
no
is
reason.
unusual, right? I'm not, Governor's
Yeah.
not.
He
If
was
you're
a
a
pretty
Neon
big
player-
content creator before he was a pro. Not
Who the
like
hell was
huge,
it?
but he had clout.
Might
His
not.
Neon
What's
was
his-
good, man.
Well, what's his
uh,
ties to Japan? Why would he be big
I
in
don't
Japan?
know. People can be
No.
fans of anyone.
Dude,
Free
I was super
country.
surprised. Somebody had translated all my Carmen Core videos into Japanese. So when I went to Masters Tokyo, people were coming up to me and being like, egg, egg. And I was like, how the hell do you know me? You never know what kind of stuff is just filtered over into a different language community.
That's awesome.
So,
They know you from
they were coming up to me, yeah, and doing the
doing
turning
the
thing as well.
flips hand.
Dude, I just abandoned you to the masses of Tokyo.
I couldn't piss.
He
I went to
couldn't-
piss. I
we
was
were trying to
getting
go pee in between the games, and he was getting pulled to the side constantly. You were a celebrity in Japan.
He's big
You-
in Japan.
You could be like.
But that's what I'm saying. Governor might just be the same thing. They might have just, you know, randomly, some of it just gets translated and it just goes through. I don't know.
You could be like a washed tier 2 baseball player that moves to like a smaller league in Japan or Korea or something and be famous. But like that's
Josh is going to go play in KBO. He's moving to Korea. It's happening.
What do you think about ZETA, though? They've re-signed Carlau to a 2026 contract. This is a coach that's come from Americas that went to ZETA, and arguably, I'm not putting this all on Carlau, but the whole coaching staff, the collective 22 of them, or however ever many of those people were out there, they fumbled what could have and should have been a very successful roster, I think. Remember that ZETA got, I think it was 4th place in Pacific the year before, right? They got in through LCQ to champs.
Yeah.
And then they upgraded their roster. I feel like inarguably they upgraded their roster heading into the next year, and it just went to shit.
Nah, they didn't upgrade their roster.
It should have been at the beginning. Well, yeah, it got worse, but the player quality on paper should have been better.
No, not a chance.
There's no way that you're looking at that at the beginning of the year and you're saying, oh,
Yeah.
these guys who are ripping people in the offseason.
No, they were not.
They were.
They were not.
The preseason games they were hitting.
I'm not having that. They weren't, dude.
They absolutely were. You've
Right,
just been
you
blinded
watch-
by
you
the year of
watch
bad
one
Valorant
demo,
from
You
them.
watch one demo of them playing like a Sen or a Sova, and you can just tell they're just not at the same class.
As Crow,
Mm-hmm.
no, you're off
It
the
was.
goop.
I'm 100% sure it's a downgrade.
The opening game, right? I'm just scrolling back. The opening game, because I'm trying to remember like what happened at the beginning of the year. The opening game, they were the 2 top fraggers for ZETA.
Yeah, in an
game
off-season
before, I
when
remember in the off-season, they
off-season
were-
when they're using util wrong.
Okay, but again, like everybody's playing badly at the beginning of the year. My point is, I'm not saying that they were great players throughout the year. I'm saying that they looked like players that had potential and they never got anywhere at all.
Sure, they could frag. I think their util was awful.
But they should. That's on the coaches, no, to teach them how to use their utility
Yeah,
properly. over the
dude,
course of the year.
don't get me started on the 6 coaches.
I'm not putting any fucking blame on Hiruron and Euron, who were pulled out of Tier 2 Japan to try to play in a Tier 1 organization, surrounded by... They could have had 2 coaches per person, and they would have still had a spare one to be able to do the map vetoes. And they didn't develop the players. I think that's a coaching problem, not a player problem.
Sure.
So,
I'll let
Sliggy,
you
do
have
you think they are trolling by re-signing Carlisle then? If you're so critical of how this team developed last year, do you think blame is to be put on the coaching
But it
staff?
could be a language barrier of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But they're also signing a
I'll at least
resilient
say his,
coach. Like,
his
that's the org's
understanding of
decision.
Icebox is shit, but Icebox is gone, so he could be great. But he definitely fundamentally doesn't understand that map. But the map's gone, so they could be right.
Right.
Everything else wasn't too bad. Icebox was an absolute shocker. But everything else, like
It's the
probably
most
understands
Sliggy thing
them.
ever. Yeah, they didn't know how to use utility, and they can't play Icebox. They don't understand the macro.
but dude,
everything else was great.
When you're in a team, everything like there's so much shit that can go wrong that it can like look a lot worse than it actually is, and you have to break it down like map by map.
So they... okay. So they don't have... I mean, I don't even know what these older players are doing. Like XQQ, Crow... Oh, no, XQQ was the coach.
Bring
What am I talking
Bas
about?
back.
Crow and 10.
Bring Bas back.
their smoke specialist.
Bring
the guy
Bas,
who
the
used to...
Brimstone split specialist.
Yeah. He's still
Bring him
playing in
back
Tier
in.
2 Japan.
Dude, I don't know what it is. I kind of fuck with them keeping Carlisle.
Why?
I kind of mess
Because
with it.
you want
Because he's
Aspas on the team.
No, that's part of it.
Good
but,
reason to
but
keep him,
another
though, yeah.
part, he's read me like a book. I think it would just be. I think he's a vibey guy, and I think a Japanese team needs that. And I think that they've trimmed the fat a little bit in terms of the coaches staff. They've got rid of the fucking secondary and third team that they were doing internal scrims with, just purely from the coaches, and they've just kept it nice and tight. And now they've got Carlisle. And I think, listen, you've had a year to like kind of acclimate yourself to the environment and realize what went wrong. And I think you've got a much less stressful year coming up in terms of the amount of time that you have in between. It's a little bit more spread out. I'm willing to give one more year. I'm willing to give one more year because one of the things I always wanted to see from Zeta Division was just some like outside influence, I think, with the coaching and the way that they played, because they were always so respectful of their opponents. It's almost like they always expected they were playing against like prime Meiy, prime Aspas, prime Tens, like just all on the same team with how respectful that they would play. And yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to see that outside influence just seep in and just like disrespect their opponents. Just understand that you're better sometimes and just swing, you know? So I'm willing to give them a year.
Now they have 2 players that are
They'll
like
find more
veterans. Who though?
I don't know.
Because like the up and coming Japanese players have been such an issue for the Japanese scene. There's Riddle Order, who did, you know, all right in Ascension. Then there's Vav. They've got a couple of players that you could maybe try to pillage.
Veno had okay players.
Right. I mean, do you pick up any of the old DFM players?
No.
Yeah, you pick up the 2023 DFM players for sure.
I do agree that is the major problem here. It's like no matter what, you're taking a gamble on up and coming talent.
Yeah.
It's because you have to now.
Unless they sign Aspas.
Right.
Dude,
Yeah.
it's a good move. If they can
is.
afford it, I'm doing it.
I don't think he can speak enough Japanese to com, can he?
Dude, that
I
guy's
know he's been
playing
doing
it with the
Japanese
in-game
lessons.
menu. I bet he
a game.
watches like 14 hours of anime every day. Like,
You don't learn Japanese from watching 14 hours of
Who's to
anime every
say?
day.
who's to say, Josh? Have you tried
How many
it?
hours of anime do you watch every day?
0. And I don't know Japanese, so I
The
feel like
correlation's
that's case in
perfect.
point.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, what would you imagine? How many of the Korean orgs do you think are going to be better than both of the Japanese orgs?
All of them?
Really?
Yeah,
You think it's going to
maybe.
be the same as this year?
I think the potential's there. Yeah, dude. Who do they get? That's the issue. Like,
Who is the
unless they-
savior
who
of
do they
Japan,
get?
Josh?
Laz, and he's retired.
Yeah. It's tragic, to be honest, isn't it? Yeah.
I
All right,
Japan's
well-
had an issue with talent development for a while.
Part of it
because
might
how
be that
much
they
they've
don't
leaned
play
on
as much.
imports.
No, I think it is that, right? They don't play as much. They just need to. But I think as long as they commit, and then it should get better because they're doing both of these teams, or at least Zeta's doing academy, right? So that helps.
Sure.
But I think it's like a few years off to getting back to what they expected from Reykjavik 2022, whenever it was.
Hmm.
I'm gonna need the players to lock in because there's such a big fan base in Japan. Play more ranked, guys.
Oh,
There's got to be a talent somewhere.
Everyone wants them to do good. That's the thing. Everyone it's a nice country, man. Everyone loves and wants them to do well. It's just the players. Yeah, dude, I'm disgusted the super team never happened. It could have been sick.
Let's talk T1 then for just a little moment, because it does actually relate to the team we want to talk about after that as well. So T1, they're not doing their roster announcement today. They baited the shit out of us. That's crazy. But they have released Sire Player and Rossi. They kept the coaching staff, and they're looking to do some kind of rebuild, right? Are you expecting that T1 are going to be trying to make a super team? Are they a team to be looking out for in these coming weeks?
I think so. I think that's where these Gen.G players must be going, or like at least offers. That's my bet for the super team. I think. Just because I know that they have money from League, right? They spend a lot of money on their League players. Like, Faker must be the highest paid ever. So can they do the same here and just get a super team? Like, I think it's time for them to splash.
So I'm just having a look at these coaches as well, right? Did they kick the coaches and then invite them back? And Chongok left T1 in February, and now he's back next year.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm looking at VLR. T1
They reminded him
Fired
he's but a
Chongak
speck in the
in February.
Uniforce.
in the Uniforce.
Yes, of course. The Uniforce. Who could forget?
Amazing.
Wolves win.
That's so bizarre.
I didn't
Okay.
realize that Chongok was on Wolves. I didn't realize many
Wolverhampton
things, to be
Wolves?
honest. Yeah, he was on Wolverhampton. Wolves win.
The Wolverhampton Wolves.
He was on that team. I'll be honest, I haven't been following the coming and going of T1
I haven't been
at
following
all.
assistant coaches for teams that don't do
well. I just don't.
I know very little about.
Yeah.
What I would be invested in though is if like all of these specific teams that have like 9,000 coaches would run like a slow pitch softball league, but between all like the tertiary coaches, and I could see how they were doing. I'd be compelled then. But as it stands, couldn't care less who their 14th coach is.
Okay, one of the reasons though that I wanted to just set up the fact that they released Sire Player and Rossi is because one of the only things that we'd heard about Cloud9 actually was that there was a report from it was from Sheep Esports, so I think it was Alejandro Gomez. Yeah, it was that Rossi had a verbal agreement to join Cloud9 as the IGL for them, and we haven't really heard anything since that report, which was over a week ago. It was like 10 days ago, something like that. And now Cloud9 officially, they've dropped Vanity Runi. We knew that that was going to happen, but this is like the roster that they played with in the Red Bull home ground that you casted, Meiy, was, I mean, it didn't have Rossi as the IGL. It had Mitch, who presumably was doing the IGLing for them, and then Vic dominating top fragging previously on MXS. I kind of like this roster. I don't know whether it was just supposed to be a pug team though. I'm out of the loop.
Yeah, to my understanding, I don't think that this is going to be the full roster, but I do agree with you that it was pretty sick. I think it's a question of whether they want to keep Mitch, because I think there could be other options, but I think they should absolutely be putting their all into keeping Vic if this was just a trial, because I think Vic looked insane in this tournament, and I think he looked really good throughout challengers and throughout, honestly, most of the time he's been as a player. I think he's really mechanically skilled. He has a flexible agent pool, and I think he fits into a role that they're missing with a really talented guy on the smokes role. So I'm super hopeful that they do get to keep Vic, because he played really, really good in this tournament, and I think would slot into pretty much exactly what they're missing roles wise.
But then the idea would be that Vic joins the team, Rossi joins the team as IGL, and Mitch was just standing in.
But do you think that
Rossi
can be an IG? Because he never has been in his career before. I feel like that's a pretty big...
He was a long, long time ago in IGL. I think
on
when he
T1?
was like... Dude, I don't even remember when it was. I remember in like some very old tournaments talking about Rossi being a Smokes IGL player when he was trying to break into Tier 1 in like, I want to say 2021 or something. Am I even thinking about the correct guy anymore? I don't know. But I think at some point, I remember, was he trying for TSM at some point? Am I losing my mind?
I have no idea. You are.
I mean, sure.
Your memory banks run deeper than mine.
Yes, TSM. Okay, he was playing for TSM in 2022, apparently. And I swear at some point he was IGLing for that team. Now, am I 100% about that? No. But I think that was the case.
I mean, when I think of C9, I always think of like a team that shouldn't really make it to champs, but sometimes they can always like pull the potential upset. They're always like next there in Americas. But I think with this team, if this is the rumored team, I think it's a firepower upgrade and it's going to help out Oxy. I think this might actually be the time that they could pull the big upset and kind of get the 4th spot to champs. I like this team. Dude, that Vic guy looks really good.
Yeah.
Like I haven't watched too much of him, but he looked great.
I do think that they do probably need an IGL who is going to be able to be like really formative for these players, and that's my one worry. I don't know what Immy's like as a coach, but they're gonna have Oxy now in his 2nd year, who I think already developed a lot throughout his 1st season in Americas. They're bringing up another guy from Challengers. Like, I don't think that this roster is going to be like a plug and play, works immediately kind of thing. Like, I do think it is going to take some time to like really mold these players into a team that can actually go out and compete and try and like make it to events like Champions. So I really feel like a lot of the pressure of the success of this roster is going to come down to the IGLing, and with if the Rossi rumors are true, with him being pretty unproven in that role, I do find it tough to feel like this is going to be like a team that I expect to be lights out in Americas. It reminds me almost a lot of last year, where it's like it feels like a team that's kind of on the bubble, like just below the gatekeep level, and if they make their moves right, could pop off and go on a run, but isn't like really expected to in my mind.
But it's an upgrade, right? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say. I think especially picking up Vic gives a little bit more firepower. I think that if we're just looking like in terms of like player versus player, like I think it is an upgrade. But I don't know how much Vanity brought to the team as a leader, which is why I'm questioning a little bit if there's a void there to fill.
It puzzled me a lot, Cloud9 last year. So I did a lot of digging into C9 and their calling structure and that kind of stuff. One of my theories, which is just a hypothesis, is that Vanity's calling style is very based on having like a read on what the opponent is doing and staying ahead of that. I think that he's extremely good when he's got a good idea of how his opponent's going to play. When he's got his finger on the pulse of the game, you see them go on like 10-round streaks where he's just always out calling his opponent. There's a number of examples over the course of last year. But he's also someone that has terrible issues trying to get back into games, and I think opts into like audibles and unusual off the strap book kind of calls to get back into a game instead of relying on fundamental stuff when he's down. I think he's a streaky caller. I think a lot of the streakiness came from the style that Vanity likes to play around. But if you go for Rossi, that also might mean that you don't get some of the really good calling that Vanity brought, where he has that incredible read on what an opponent's going to do, and they're always in the right place at the right time, and he knows, like, if I put my player here, if I put Oxy in this position, he's going to dominate, we're going to get into the site, and we're going to win the round. Yeah. Or he's got, like, an exploitative style of calling, in my opinion. And if the exploits are working, it works really well, and if they're not, then he fumbles.
Do you think it could be better, though, to have a less experienced IGL? If Meiy as a coach, then, can be more of, like, building a lot of the preset stuff, setting them up for success, really a lot, building a structure that they can rely on a lot, I could almost see it being something like, probably not to the same extent, obviously, but to something like what Gen.G had this year, where they managed to mold someone who had never been a good caller before, with just some good structure and, like, good ideas of, like, setting their players up to like kind of have the agency to make these on the fly plays happen.
I think if they can do that, they should, and I don't think they should do it with Rossi, because if you're going to do that, in my mind, there is plenty of talent in tier 2. I mean, I've been neglecting tier 2 this entire year because the season was just too jam packed. But I know for a fact that there's good talent in NA. I know for a fact that the tier 1 teams scrim against tier 2 teams, and they know that there's good talent there too. If you're going to take that route, why are you doing it with Rossi, who's had a really up and down year in APAC? I mean, granted, throw him a bone. I think that it's very difficult. I think if you're moving 5,000 miles to a country that's very foreign to you, and you're very much kind of just thrusted into this team system that I don't think was set up very well in the first place, like T1 this year. So he didn't have the best opportunity to shine, I suppose, as a player. But now you, I don't know. Typically, when a player picks up IGLing, their individual performance gets worse because they can't think about it as much. And Rossi was only thinking about his individual performance, as far as I'm aware.
Well, wasn't he IGLing at the start of the year, like when he was playing for the team? Am I losing my mind?
I don't remember him IGLing.
I thought Carpe took over when Rossi left.
Yeah.
I was talking to Dre, Baby Bay, at this event, who used to play with Rossi a lot when he was on FaZe, and I think even in Overwatch before that. And he was telling me that he didn't know if Rossi was going to IGL and was kind of surprised if that was going to be the case. Which makes me think that maybe there isn't as much history there, but I don't know. My memory's not that good.
Out of all of the metas, though, this is the best time to have a player turn IGL. And this is a current meta where the most fragging is the most important at the moment.
Sure.
I think because it's one of those double initiator, send it, you create a question mark, you just insta clear with bodies.
I will also say I kind of
it's an easy meta to call right now. Honestly.
Yeah, I kind of fuck with it too because there is a lot of time left in the off season. It's October right now. Because they won this Red Bull Homeground event, they're going to get invited to the LAN in Berlin. There's going to be a few other NA events going on that they can play. There is actually, I think, ample opportunity to get some real match time with this roster and figure their shit out before the season starts in January now?
Yeah. Dude, I think
kinda
Rossi
like
fragged
the
pretty
team.
heavy as well. Yeah, dude, I was thinking that as well. I don't think it's that bad. I definitely prefer this over last year.
I think the talent is sick. Like this is a team with really high potential if they get the
Yeah.
like calling right.
I agree.
I also just think the calling, like, again, how many times we had like 3 maybe interviews where Imi was like, they just didn't listen to me in the time.
yeah, where it's just complete. Dude, they happened so many times.
It's
Dude, I
so
used to
much.
love his
Embarrassing.
interviews after the map and just be like, well, they ignored me again. And it's like, what the fuck?
The thing is too, though,
That
I
needs
wonder
to
how
be
many times that
solved.
happens. How many times does that happen with other teams? But the coach runs bail for the squad, and it's just
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you know, we had some issues. Like the guys were just trying to figure it out themselves, or like, you know, just absolute bullshits the interview, and then he's going off like, these motherfuckers didn't listen to me again.
Yeah, they did this.
But
wrong.
Imi's just outing them.
But I do think a lot of this team, and I think a lot of pressure is on him this year, because I know it's speaking about new players a lot, but ZETA has to put, 'cause in this off season was a great start. Like you wanna keep running that performance for the rest of the year, you're good. But I think a lot of pressure's on him because me and a lot of coaches kind of know that this guy's good, but I'm seeing a lot of people doubt this guy.
Has he
But I
ever
know
been bad
but
though? I'm just saying, like on any team, even when they have
he-
not succeeded, has he ever been bad? Because I don't think
he's-
I've ever thought about him as being bad. Like
he's
Mike
not
Zeppa
bad, but-
stocks.
He's he should be a superstar. Like no joke, he should be. He was like when it was old. I can't remember what that team was with him and Leaf in CS, but like dude, he was like a
Chaos.
really chaos. He was a really good player. Like I don't think we've ever kind of seen his full potential. Not that he's playing like shit or bad. I just think that I personally know he's capable of more, and I'm not even someone that's worked with him.
I think he is an international caliber player. Like he is so good on the flash initiator role. His mechanics are so good, and I think he's proven to be a really good teammate. I don't think Oxy would look anywhere near as good as he looked this year if he wasn't playing with Zeppa.
I think Zeppa's inconsistent. I think when you see his best performances, he can take over a server. But they
Where
just,
are the
they just
lows?
don't come as often. It's not that he shit.
Because I feel like at his worst, he is like a solid player that does his job well, and he has these really high
He does
highs.
sometimes
But I think if he was on
disappear.
a more consistent team, I think
Yeah,
that
I
he would
agree.
have potential to shine. Like I feel like his lows are not as low as some
But-
other players.
But you're saying if he was on a more consistent team, but I think he's part of the reason that some of these teams haven't been consistent. He's one of the players that we're looking at in terms of like C9 choking some of these big moments away.
Sure.
Was when he didn't step up in like massive matches when they're playing against NRG, for example, in 2023 in order to make it to an international event. You know, there's some moments like that where you're looking at players like, I mean, people have looked at Leaf before in the past for that kind of stuff too, but I think it's just a case of having high expectations of a player like that. I think that like the hate he gets from the community is just wrong in
Dude,
my
I
opinion.
miss this 100 Thieves roster when they were Australian. This was so fun to watch.
Okay.
That's complete.
Yeah, I think the C9 team is gonna do well though, as long as they can get the calling.
Sure.
For Sentinels, we already know exactly. Like nobody was surprised when the Sentinels news dropped. They've signed Bang, they've signed Narrate. I mean, I guess maybe some people would have been surprised about Bang if they weren't following the news 100%. But for a while, we've known that Bang was the more likely candidate of the people that they've been trialing to join on Smokes. So what are you thinking about this? Oh, I think that the interesting way to approach this actually is how does this Sentinels differ to the old Sentinels that did a really good job last year?
Yeah, I was trying to work this out because I was like, because it's such a weird one. Because I'm probably gonna get flamed for this, but on paper, if you asked me at the beginning of this year, this is an upgrade, I think. But then just 10's delivered on the most mental levels that it looks like a stupid statement. Because on paper it shouldn't be better because 10's reached crazy levels on controller. But if you showed me both of these rosters at the beginning of 2023, I still think I would have said that this has like more potential, just because I didn't think the 10's could deliver to the level that he did last year. Like it surprised me that he is the best I've ever seen him. So it's such a weird one when you're comparing these teams. This is a crazy strong team. This is a solid amount of firepower. This has like this can win. This can win.
I mean, you say solid
Masters
amount of
champs.
firepower. I don't think there's like, I think every player on this roster has pretty insane firepower. Like Zelsis, I think, doesn't always have his peak level. Like he has had those games, like the final of Madrid, where he like goes dummy crazy, but it's generally just like solid. But the rest of these guys are like insanely consistent fraggers. Like you think about Bang anchoring a site every round on 100 Thieves. You think about what Narrate did last year with KC when he went international, providing so much stuff for them. And then you're adding in Zekin, and then who's of course excellent, and then John QT, who's one of the like best fragging IGLs in, I think, VCT overall. And this roster on paper, I feel like is your anti-John QT, Josh?
He
I'm
had
not
some
anti-John
bad
QT,
games.
but
You
like,
hate him?
Just get the fuck
You
out of
think he
here.
should get dropped from Sentinels?
What the?
Do you think he's a harder fragger than King? Do you think he's a harder fragger than
I don't
Munchkin
think he's a harder
recently as well?
fragger than King, but I think he's a player I would rather have overall.
Alice
Posted
had
with
a
an op in his
dream
hand?
last night that me and Alice were John QT's parents, and we were helping
Sorry?
him move in for college. Yeah. Alice had a dream last night that we were like John QT's parents, and we were helping him like acclimate to college life.
Wow.
How
Or
did he
something.
do?
For some reason, he was being like very spoiled, very bratty in the dream. I don't
He's
really
not
see
like
him as
that
that
at
type
all.
of person. He's not like that at all in real life, no. But yeah, that's
Was
you
this
just
a shared
reminded me of
dream? Did you both have the dream at
we-
the same
did
time?
we
And you
mind
woke up
link
and you
at
were
this?
like, yeah, you look at each other and you're like, wait, did you dream the same thing that I did?
I don't remember my dreams really. So maybe I don't know. But I've had instances where I've thought that I've lived another life, in a dream where like I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience where you live an entire life before. But I think I'd said it once on the Foreheads podcast that we did years ago. But I once dreamt that I had grown up, had a child and a family, grown to old age and passed away and lived an entire lifetime of like 80 years in a dream. And I woke up feeling like an immense feeling of loss for my family that I'd lost, but they slowly faded from my mind over time. And I can't remember them now, but I remember the emotional feeling, and I was like, "Oh my god, this must be what it feels like."
Did it feel
was,
like years in the dream?
It was like my chest was like crushing in on itself. It was like the emotional pain was insane. But yeah, it felt like I just lived a lifetime, and I forgot. Now this has nothing to do with Sentinels or this topic, but I just decided to bring it up.
Okay, your family in the dream, if they got signed to Sentinels,
Yeah,
how'd they do?
I think they probably wouldn't do too well because they probably never played Valorant. But this team, I agree with your guys' overarching points, which is on paper, I don't know if they would. I don't know. It seems like this should be an upgrade, but Tens had such high peaks that it's hard to replace him as a player when he moved into that smokes role. I think BaYN will do a very good job of it because I think BaYN has showed a lot of promise as a player over the years. And the rate is cracked. We all know that. So they have a good team put together. They definitely do. And I think, I don't know. I haven't spoken to Kaplan about any of this, but I remember being so high up on the Ghost Gaming core, like way back in the day, 2021 or 2. And it was Cap and I think Gunter as coaches on that team. And now Gunter on M80. M80's lost Ascension. I think they might be looking for a return of that old coaching staff that was very good.
They
as a core.
did. Drew Sparks not with the team anymore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if that was the reasoning all along, then maybe, I mean, that's my justification for it because I think that Drew clearly added a lot of value to the team, but yeah, I don't know. I think if you're a Sentinels fan, you have a lot to look forward to next year from the look of it. And I'm just making, again, assumptions and guesses in terms of where they might go with assistant coaches, but I think this is a really strong roster. It definitely should be one of the strongest rosters in Americas next year.
Yeah, I had to smile a little bit, Mimi, when you were saying that these are some of like the most like heavy hitting firepower players, because I remember pulling a stat for champs that was like, I just for some reason thought it'd be funny to pull headshot percentage for all the players at champions. And the player was at the bottom of the list was Zelsis, because he also had the highest leg shot percentage because he runs and guns so much, trying to abuse movement in the game where he plays with the Phantom.
Josh, I was trying to do it in a nice way, but I was trying to say that this is 4 of the
I
with
think
one
Zelsis is
very
skilled.
important 5th player who has some very high peaks. But
I
he's
think
not
Zelsis
as
is skilled.
consistently disgusting as these
I think
guys,
he's very
but it's
skilled.
still
I think he
great.
has an incredibly different playstyle. He plays
Yeah, it's like shooting
that's one of the things that ZETA does a lot as well, actually, is that he moves while shooting a ton to try to
It's very effective.
throw off people's
Phantom
aim and-
abusers.
Yeah, actual Phantom abuser gameplay. But one of the other things that I was thinking with this roster is that they previously had a player that was always like in the back lines, not baiting, but like there for the clutch at every point, making sure that there was some stable element to the team constantly, which
Hiko.
was, well, yeah, it was Hiko. It was Sassy. I mean, they do play somewhat similarly, to be honest. Narrate is not like that. Narrate also doesn't really play Sova. He's played one game ever on Sova.
One day alternate between Zekken and Narrate.
You think
That's
Narrate?
how
That's what I
thought
was
this would work.
thinking. Is Narrate going to play Duelist on Ascent? Assuming that they ran the Ascent default comp, would you put Narrate on Jet and then put Zekken on Sova? They
Low-key,
did at some point run Zekken on Sova. He's amazing on Ascent.
On Xset, he played it on that map.
Yeah.
And when they played this Red Bull home ground, they were pugging it. They were playing with 2 subs, but he played Sova on Ascent and looked pretty fucking sick on the Agent. So
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they do something like that where they juggle the duelist role a little bit.
I put Zekken in the same category as players like Narrate and even like BuZz, where I would consider them like, okay, they have their roles locked in, but they are such generational talents that they can play other roles. And as long as they want to, I think that's an important factor that I was, like me and Alice were genuinely talking about this with this roster and like what the roles would look like. But I think if a player is eager to play something for a team, like to fill in that role, that makes all the difference in the world than them just being told to do it. But I don't know. I get the vibe from Narrate and Zekken that they are willing to be that team player and almost eager to do it as like an opportunity to prove themselves. And they look phenomenal. Doesn't matter what role they play. They look good. So I think this team will be initially quite just fluid in terms of what they want to play in terms of roles. To try and figure stuff out, and they will be willing to mix and match. They won't just be running a consistent duelist, because I know that the caliber of players that they've got to fill in that position where they're just alternating are good enough.
I also think it's going to relieve some pressure from John. I don't think John has to play as aggro anymore because he can fill up that like slower, more lurky role. I think the combined pressure that you get from having the 3 players of Zekken, Narrate, and Bang in whatever order they decide to be like sending it into the site, I think that can be so overwhelming that it creates avenues and opportunities for Zelsis and John to be able to play more of the like reserved clutch role or do more 4-1 plays where they get the like lurk option because the mid rotates off completely to deal with the hit. I think those kind of opportunities will open up for John more so than he already had them.
And Zekken also, like to go back to his agent pool for a little bit, like he's played more Sova in officials in his career than he has played Jet. Like when he was playing in tier 2 earlier in his career, he was like always flexing around and playing different roles in a very high level on all of them. He also, like, if I'm recalling correctly, did like a long running like series where he streamed like it was either hitting Radiant on every role or hitting Radiant playing every agent on specific accounts and just like did it on all of them. The guy's just such a talent. He could do anything. I think he's such a good piece to have for a team when you're rebuilding, because you can get someone like Narrate, who has a little bit of a weirder agent pool sometimes, and just be able to fully flex around and make people comfortable, and he'll just be able to slot into whatever you need. And to me, thus far, out of the Americas rosters that we know or like suspect, Sentinels, in my opinion, is probably looking like the most dangerous team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that, dude, I agree. It's so nice to have a team that can kind of be thrown this curveball of big meta change, and you just like, yeah, they can deal with this. Like they got really flexible players. Like even Zelsis has done a lot of flexing, to be honest, in terms of changing his roles. Like, there's a good amount, and Narrate can play anything, and Zekken can play anything to a high level as well. So it's like one of those perfect teams to have, where it's like, even if you get that big curveball from Riot, you're like, yeah, sure, we can do this. Double duelist probably suits them well. Double initiated, double smokes, like they're ready for anything.
I think the other team that I'm looking towards in Americas as a serious heavy hitter is also G2, especially with the recent signing of jawgemo being now official. Jawgemo was potentially going to be looking at a couple of other teams. I think Lev and NRG were both trying to see if he would join, and he ended up busting out of jail. G2 did a pretty well done piece, actually. They used the same bit that everybody does when it comes to EG, which is roster jail, but they executed it really well in their video.
Yeah. They got a lot of digs in there.
Yeah,
There's a
tons
lot
of digs.
Wait, I forgot they had Wait, is Sentinels the best?
I mean,
This G2
again,
roster looks crazy. Like,
how
just
cool is it though that we get an actual Sen G2 rivalry next year? I feel like that isn't something that we've ever had, and it's something that the social media managers have always tried to play up, but it's just not been a thing. But this year it actually could be.
Yeah. It's dude, it's such a good pickup, man. It's such a sick team. Dude, I'm telling you, some of the Americas, like the top heavy Americas teams are scary. Like they look really, really good. We got like 3 of them that we know of already, and then maybe whatever happens with Lev. Like I'm excited. And I mean jawgemo's just so skilled. Dude, I'm telling you, this video was cracking me
I
up,
haven't
man.
seen this.
Have you not
The
seen it? You should go
dog
watch it.
X-ray
Bro.
inside his chest is too funny.
It's really well done. It is really well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I fuck with this team as well. I fuck with it heavy. Jorg is he's one of those guys that he's elite at the game. You literally, I mean, you just need to have been watching last year, I guess, and the previous years to know that. And one of the biggest complaints of G2 was that they didn't have enough firepower of Icy. I didn't think that was necessarily fair. I think Icy just fit the vibe of the team. No,
I think he underperformed in a lot of big moments. I think people think of like the best moments when they think of Icy, which there were some of them. I don't think he was a bad player completely. Like he did his job, he did what the team asked him, but he was not up to the level of the other top duelists on other teams competing in Americas and competing internationally. I think that he probably was the player who was like most likely to be the cap on G2 actually breaking through and winning international events. And I think them signing jawgemo really lifts the potential of the ceiling for this team. He's a guy who I think is a mechanically stronger player. He is also a guy who is a lot more aggressive and willing to take some of those risks. Not to say like Icy was like a beta or anything like that, but he had a much slower style of play, and a lot of these rounds, he's not going to be like, I think he's not going to feel as comfortable as sending it in, being that hard entry player as jawgemo has proven to be throughout his time on this roster. And I think this is just pound for pound a very clear upgrade that I think will break G2 away from like contender to like real, like they could lift a trophy. They should lift a trophy this season team. Yeah,
it is an upgrade. I hard agree with that. I just dropped my coaster. The I do agree it's an upgrade massively. But I think Icy was the identity that G2 play. I think it's hard to show that you are a cracked stellar duelist player when they wanted to play discipline, hyper disciplined all the time. And what I'm hoping with jawgemo joining the team is that you have another voice in the squad that can increase the tempo rapidly at a moment's notice. That is actually going to like propel the team forwards when jawgemo wants to have resources to go forwards, because he's going to be vocal. He's going to be that player in the team to do that. Whereas Icy, I think, was very much a team player, and that's not a fault. I think that the way G2 set themselves up stylistically meant that they needed a player like Icy, and I think he fit that role. I think the clearest way to put it is that Icy was a tier 2 player who came up and molded himself into the G2 system and did what was asked of him, but I don't think took a lot of agency, at least in watching their play, obviously not listening to their comms, to be like, hey, I want to make this play, let's do this, like there's an opportunity here for me to take a timing, for me to take a risk. He didn't take those risks in the way that jawgemo has kind of defined his style in taking with his past teams. At the same time, that is what they were struggling with when they had Leaf on the team. Remember that they began kickoff with Leaf, who's an incredibly vocal duelist, a very aggressive duelist player as well, much more towards jawgemo's style than towards Icy's, and they struggled with that. They couldn't make it work. They found that there was too many comms coming from the front of the team, and they ended up having to move him over to the Sentinel role and add somebody like Icy. Now, if they hadn't signed Icy at that point in the year, they might not have even made an international event. Icy was the right guy for them to get at that point in order to get the results they needed there. But hopefully Jorg is the guy to then take them to the next level. But I still think that, as Brent's saying, there is a bit of a challenge to resolve here, which is that you need Jorg to be pouncing on those opportunities. You need him to be opportunistic, but the rest of the team needs to be able to flow with that. And that's something they failed to do at kickoff and clearly weren't comfortable with because they moved away from it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those teams that the off-season events, like they'll probably just go to one, that they can probably make like really good use of it to actually find it out. But I'm expecting them to probably be the best in Americas for the beginning of next year, because it's just like one player difference, and it is an upgrade. Like it is an upgrade. This guy is mechanically unbelievable. Dude, I love watching this guy so much, man. I'm so excited to watch next year. It's so good, dude. Give me the Neo meta and just let me watch this guy.
Oh my god, I forgot he can play. Oh, G2's gonna cook.
Yeah,
This team is
should
so
be,
sick.
It should be really fun. But I'm expecting. What's the Fast Masters for next year?
Thailand.
Yeah, it's
Toronto
right,
is second, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, I think that's
Thailand.
right. Yeah, so I'm expecting them to make it because I think they should off the bat be the best America's team, just because
Yeah,
they got the
top
core of the
two.
4 coach. Hopefully, nothing changes too much with how Riot's doing it. They don't have to go too heavy in the off season. They can kind of do like one event. I think they're I think they're the kind of ones to watch out for, like at the beginning of next year, having like a really good start.
From a super team, or from 2 teams that you could consider to be at the top of Americas, to a potential EMEA super team here. Let's talk Vitality. They've cleared out their roster in order to make space for new signings. So they haven't announced the new roster that they're currently working with, but they've gotten rid of a bunch of people. They've gotten rid of a bunch of coaches as well. And there are plentiful reports about what this new roster is going to look like, apart from a final confirmation, or at least final like report on the last slot where it looks like the rumors are trending towards Yampi, no IGL, rather than Sender, which is a bit bonkers. But yeah, the idea being that there was a report between our episode last week and this one, which said that Durka was set to join Vitality, and they'd kind of finalized a buyout for him. So we were talking about Durka going to NRG and saying that that was likely, but he ended up wanting to go to Vitality instead. The community were getting angry over the last week, getting really angry about the fact that Fnatic were allegedly keeping, or rumored to be keeping Durka in roster jail and not shipping him out to an EMEA rival. Kojo then came out and tweeted saying, "Nah, fam, that ain't true. Vitality just aren't paying." He said, "We don't stop transfers of players due to competitive reasons, nor do we have different asks depending on the buyer. We just expect the buyer to be met," which most interested teams have been able to do. So that implies Vitality were not interested in paying the buyout that they were asking for, whereas NRG were.
Who was building this team?
For Vitality,
Yeah,
the BeYN.
they must have coaches.
I know, but I don't think I can say anything.
Okay, all right. So it's just not they haven't announced it.
There is someone that isn't the coach. I'm pretty sure that is like overseeing everything.
Or they're
Okay.
not the coach that they're planning to use this year.
I'm pretty sure that with the coach, they're kind of discussing it, but there is like someone that is in charge of.
Oh,
the
they're
whole
going for
thing.
the esports classic of verbal agreement. You build the roster for us, and then we won't hire you. Oh, I'm not saying that will happen. I hope they don't get
They're
screwed.
gonna thieve
Dude,
something even.
Also, people were giving Kojo loads of shit recently. I was reading some stuff because dude said about like there was like a rumor coming out that they were going to trial Kayak, and he said like false on that, and then they started trialing him a week later. But at the time when he said false, it was false, and everyone's like, "Well, look, he's a liar. So how can we believe this thing? They're keeping him in jail." It's like, dude, it's just as time goes on. Obviously, they're going to trial one of the better like people for the roles. So yeah, people are throwing a lot of shit at Kojo, but I kind of think dude, we never get people that are like this transparent in esports, so don't throw like it's so nice when people actually going like, no, this is what we're doing. Like, and Fnatic are always really good at that, of being like, this is what we're doing, whether it's what's those Twitter things where like you can live listen in. They do that a lot and just
The
give you updates.
Spaces.
Yeah, that shit. They do that all the time and like give you an update. Like, it's cool that we actually get like an insight. Don't flame this guy. He's just telling us the truth all the time. He has no reason to lie. He has nothing good to lie. I don't get why everyone's calling him a liar. He's just telling you the truth, and he's just being transparent. So
I think he should just start lying.
yeah, honestly, fuck it.
If they're
Why
already
not?
calling him out,
Yeah,
why
You
not?
got to throw some bluffs in there,
just
otherwise.
say, yeah, Chronicles kicked. Yeah, just fucking do everything.
Yeah. Okay. So that puts Vitality would be in a situation. I mean, Dirk has been reported that he's going to Vitality. He's also tweeting B gifs. That's the profile picture there.
Dude,
Very
why
goofy.
is that B looking at me like that?
Why is
trying
he
to rizz
looking
you
like
up.
that?
Nah, I don't like it,
Is it
man. I
working?
don't.
Have
I
you
don't
seen the
like
B
it.
movie, Bren?
Yeah.
And you know the whole concept of the B movie is B tries to fuck a human woman.
No, the human woman tries to fuck the bee.
Yeah, well, both. I mean, it's consensual on both parts,
Yeah. Yes.
or it would be if it ever happened.
Yeah, I do
whether
know.
it ends
I
up
do
I
know
think
of the
it
plot
did
of the
happen.
movie.
right.
There's like you can find like
Canonically,
there's a seven-
canonically.
there's
Why
a
you
7
laughing?
TV GIF I think of the B movie, like the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole B movie in like 6 seconds or
In-
something.
I found it.
Can we
I'll
watch
put the
it?
link in. I will say I'll give an epilepsy warning for it because it's a lot of flashing,
This stream
fast
contains
moving.
fast
Honestly,
flashing images.
It
that
is
may
fast
affect
flashing
viewers.
images. So if you are prone to epilepsy, then look away from the stream or pause.
Look away now, but
As
you
a
will
warning.
miss the B movie.
If this gets pulled back.
You must,
Go back and 0.25 it.
You will miss the entire B movie if we choose to pull it up.
Can we pull it up?
I mean, I just put it in the.
You can't get DMCA'd for watching the B
there
movie
we
this
go.
quickly, surely.
well, we're about to find out.
Yep.
Our whole episode
That
gets
was a good
taken
film.
down because we watched the B movie.
What was
really like
everyone's
the
favorite
dialogue.
part?
Where the bee and the woman fucked.
Jesus Christ.
So vitality. What are
Okay,
they
so-
doing these days?
Okay,
What do you think-
Vitality
what do you
is
think
the
of a
bee.
roster?
Who's the woman?
Kojo, I think. He's getting money out of it.
Oh.
What do you think of a roster that looks like Durka, Less, Safe, Trex? I mean, that's... Here's my thing, though. Is that a super team? If you got Durka, Less, Safe, Trex, +1, Safe is playing Smokes, though, and let's say they add Yampy in and Safe IGLs from Smokes. Would you consider that to be a super team?
It has like, I mean, kind of on paper, but then at the same time, if that's actually what's happening, then the IGL stuff's a bit like up in the air. I would
Right.
much rather they keep Sender, and then I'm like, now it makes sense. You gotta have like, when you have a super team like this with the 4 people, you gotta have like the boaster. You gotta have the guy that's doing all the work, and so the other 4 can just kind of chill.
I mean, Les has been like at least secondary caller for Loud in the past, right? He was very vocal, very involved in stuff, doing map vetoes for them at various points, like wanted to take over, doing more of the IGL work. Sadak at some point was talking about trying to get him more involved in that position. You know, if you've got him and Safe involved, does that help at all with getting rid of Sender, in your mind?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm traumatized from my past, man. I always want an IGL, really. I want to kind of prove an IGL. That's where I'm at. But dude, like those 4, that's a super team. And then +1, as long as the one fits the role of the IGL of what is expected from them, that is a super team. Trex, Safe, Less. Who else? Durka.
Durka, yeah, and then
Dude, that's a super
+1.
team.
Do you think it's... see, I'm not... If that was Sender as the final player, does it count as a super team if 3 out of 5 of the players are like utterly super world class? Because I wouldn't say that Sender and Safe on Smokes would qualify for me. I guess it depends where you draw the line.
Yeah, it depends on where you... Do you always go like Safe on Smokes or Safe on Duelist?
I mean, like,
I just fucking run double Duelist, to be honest.
just every game double
Yeah,
duelist.
fuck it, just get ISO out. Honestly, why not? They're all too good for it.
Yeah.
Safe is so good on Duelist, man. I would hate to see him go back to Initiator. I mean, Smokes might actually be alright, to be honest. As long as he doesn't... Not that his Initiator was bad, it's just once you see the Duelist, you're like, man, I want to see the Duelist again. I want to see that again.
The increase is what's dramatic to me, because Safe could be one of those players like we were talking about earlier, where you put him in with like Zekken or Narrate, where he's a polyglot, right? He's the polymath. He can just take any different area and he's superb at it. And yet, I don't think that's actually the case for Safe. Even though he plays a lot of stuff and he is super flexible, the impact he has on Duelist is just, I think, significantly higher than it is on these other roles that we've seen him play in the Cypher, the Initiator, that kind of stuff.
It helps because it's more noticeable as well. It's rare that you see, like, if you're looking at KO, like, this knife did so much, this flash did so much. It's more in your face, obvious that it's having more impact. Even though, again, I think his Initiator is really good.
He just drives tempo so hard, though, when he plays Duelist. He actually takes control of the whole tempo of the game, which you can't do as much from a more supportive position.
No, I agree. Like, was it 2023 Liquid Ascent? Like, he won them all of their attack rounds every single game on Ascent, like single-handedly. So yeah, he's a beast. I don't. This is a scary team. As long as they don't implode and everyone gets on, man, this should be aiming for similar to what Heretics did, to be honest, from last year.
I think the risk is always when you're bringing together like such a different team that it does just implode. But if they live up to their potential, just like the names on this roster enough should be a top squad in the region, I think.
Okay. The next thing that we had here was just like people to keep an eye on for announcements in the future. Oh, what is this?
Whoa.
It's actually a really
Fan
good
art.
drawing.
Yeah, that was
That was
impressive.
really good. That one, if anything, is more seductive. There's
Yeah.
something about the smoky eyes that, like,
Where's this coming from?
I don't
Is
think
this
anyone else
somebody
was saying it was
cooking-
seductive, Josh, though.
huh?
I think that was just you.
Yeah, that's just you thinking
No,
it's
no.
seductive.
No,
one
no.
else.
Someone definitely said seductive. I
You
was just
said
I was just
Riz.
repeating what. Yeah.
Mhm.
God, stop looking at me with those.
What is it?
fucking
We gotta
bedroom
move
eyes,
on,
you
surely.
naughty
They
little
get
bug.
these beef fucking eyes out of here, man. I don't want to see this.
I've never been so attracted to an insect in my life. Let's have a look. Let's go quick. I want to quick fire through some of these because all of the ones that we're about to talk about are only based on reports. They're not based on the new wave of like teams can actually announce official stuff or the database, right? So all of these are just journalists have reported on them. So I want to go quick fire through them. So the first one, Xander tweeted that, well, I suppose this isn't, I've immediately broken my own rule here, but Xander tweeted that he signed a contract and the report was that it's 100 Thieves. What do you reckon about that move?
Good.
Holy shit, we didn't have to be that quick fire.
Yeah, next.
Next.
All right, next. Team Liquid, they're set to sign Paditek. They've also reached a buyout agreement with Camo, who's a Polish, I think, duelist player. So that would move then Kiko over to playing Smokes, I think the rumor is. So it'd be Nats, Kiko, Paditek, Camo, and Kamik as their 5-player roster. Reminder as well that 2 years ago, Camo was the one that had like private logs leaked of him talking to his 14-year-old girlfriend, calling people the N-word. So, you know, a brand risk that they've paid a buyout for from Koi. So that seems like a weird decision to go for, but there you go. What do you think about the roster, though?
It's, I mean, I don't think it's gonna win anything, but I think that it's like middle of the pack. Like, is it not? Am I being harsh in saying that?
Yeah, I
Like,
think that's fair.
Firepower's pretty good. Like, if Patty can live up to the levels that he was doing on the Heretics, then fair play. Because then they actually might be able to reach like pretty heavy levels. And then it'll be interesting to see like Kiko on Smokes, and then how much firepower Camo can actually perform. Because again, he's actually like a pretty heavy frag and duelist. But in terms of like winning, I don't think this is a winning team. But
Yeah.
maybe it could scrape a Masters or a Champs.
I don't know a
don't
lot
know.
about most of
It's
these
middle.
players, but what I do know is that Team Liquid fucking hate casters because they signed Kiko, Camo, and Kayak all to the same team.
Not Camo, not Kayak either, Kamik.
Kamik. Oh,
Yeah.
even worse. Great.
Kayak's gone from Apex to Fnatic, but yeah, Apex, Fnatic, and Liquid are like a little incestuous circle to me. They just keep trading players around with each other. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think they might be even worse than that, actually. I don't think they're making an international. I think they might even be just like fighting for playoffs kind of vibe for this team. But
It's Nats IGL then, right? I take it.
I would assume so, which... How do you feel about that?
I the most hyped I've ever been on Team Liquid was like when Sliggy was coaching the team, and I don't mean to gas you up here on the podcast, but the I always feel a sense of despair with Team Liquid ever since then, and
Got to bring
I don't
back
know.
friend of the show, Stephen Liggy.
even when they've reached their max potential as a team, it just I just need more information. I need to know who their coaches are. I need to know. Like, I don't know.
I mean, the
it's so hard to
coach
tell.
has already been signed as well.
Lohan.
Lohan. He
Lohan.
coached the French team, the team that dominated
Job
the
Life.
French league. Yeah, Job Life, the
Yeah.
French league.
Job
Okay.
done. Job done.
So he's had some recent success. But
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Who
then
knows?
the Team Liquid stocks are going slightly up. I just find it very difficult to judge any roster at this point because I remember last year we were literally saying the exact same shit about Heretics as a team.
yeah,
And
Didn't we have them
look at
like
how well they did.
11th in a power ranking or something? Because
We
they
had them
didn't have
really
a team.
low. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
obviously none of
definitely
this
had
is
them
like
around
set in stone, but
But dude,
Yeah.
no one, and maybe even them, to be honest, thought that they were going to be as good as they were this year, is in terms of Heretics. So,
yeah.
yeah, but I don't think this is as potential. Like Wu was an incredible pickup. Yeah, we'll see. This is one of those teams where I feel like fourth is like the max, and then it can get anywhere in between. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, move on to Koi then. So Koi are reportedly signing Filu, Solcas, and Flyer to their team. So they would join Grubinho and Shados for the 5 people on the team. So they have a lot of people that have played like Flex Initiator or Initiator before. It's a little strange, this roster, in my opinion. And also, weirdly, Solcas looking to move from Apex, where he just won in Tier 2, moving to a different org that doesn't actually look like it'll be that much better than the org he just played on.
Right, that confirms the kayak stuff, because you don't want to be the guy. You don't want to be the guy that ruins the core. Like you all made it. You're all high five, and you'll spend the whole year like working for this, and then one guy leaves, and you're like, okay, fuck it, I'm out as well. There's no way that Dom would be the first person to ruin the vibes there. So yeah, that one's pretty much confirmed in my head, just because this. What else did you say? Soulcast, Flyer.
Soulcast, Flyer, joining Grubinho and Shados are apparently staying, and then Filu as well.
Filu? Why
So
do I...
Filu, Filu is he was on Desire.
Oh,
Who?
okay. This guy frags out pretty heavy. Yeah, I remember this guy. Honestly, not too bad.
Yeah,
That's.
I mean, he's got extremely good stats on Duelist, so he's presumably going to be a Duelist player for them. I don't really understand how the rest of the roles are necessarily going to work. I don't know who's going to be playing what for the rest of them. I mean, apart from Grubinho, I suppose, but the others, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to flex around a little bit, I suppose. But it seems like an odd team. I mean, similar to Liquid, maybe with more Dark Horse, but.
Yeah, I think that it's an upgrade from last year. That can be said.
Yeah,
Brother, what isn't?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I agree.
And Shados has been putting together. I still think that Shados can be a good player as well. I
Oh,
think
no
that
doubt.
It's tragic what's happened to that guy's career since Gambit. He's actually just been bogged. The amount of opportunities Redgar's had versus Shados is just absurd, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's true. There's a couple of those in the EMEA where there's just like one pass and you're just like, oh man, if only, like what could have been, pretty much. I always go back to Cloud because Cloud is the main one. I don't know.
yeah.
All right, so next one, Foot. Close to signing Zeus with CNED presumably, replacing CNED presumably, who would then be going to Apex or Gentle Mates are the two teams that CNED has been associated with.
Wait, I didn't know.
Oh.
Where's this one? Is this today? That's nuts.
So this is, again, I don't know exactly how valid this is. Like I'm saying, we're talking about the rumors here. So this is Esporin. Do I know the validity of this source? No, I do not. Am I spreading misinformation potentially? Possibly.
Wait,
So-
is the journalist's name Sporin?
Yeah, I've no
That
idea.
literally sounds like a Thorin meme knockoff account.
Yeah, he's just tweeting outrageous moves.
I feel
See if
like that
anyone
is
bites for
crazy
it.
if it's real. Why would CNED Foot had a
CNED
pretty solid
meant to go where?
year.
Gentlemen. Apex.
It says Apex and Gentle Mates. Again, I have no idea. There have been so many new people reporting on off-season moves this year that I don't know who to trust anymore. I'm just kind of taking it all at like entertainment value, not real value.
I think it would be funny if he left. I mean, is he just trying to get a bag so he can retire in the Poconos? Like,
It might be.
Where are the Poconos?
It might be, but I
like
think,
New Jersey.
I could actually see this happening, to be fair. Like, it would make sense if they got the bag from... So Apex get the bag from selling Kayak, and then they buy CNED, and then with that money they buy Zeus, because Zeus is sick. Like, if you're going to replace CNED, you get in Zeus. So that's at least pretty good for Foot if that is happening. I just kind of like the Foot team. I thought they were alright.
I don't know why CNED would want to leave or why they'd want to replace him personally.
Yeah, I
But
felt like
CNED
dude,
was
he
on
looked the
fire.
happiest. He looked the happiest I've ever seen him.
Yeah.
He was smiling, man. Like after the Navi hell that he was in, I didn't see one smile. I saw multiple smiles this year, man. I want to see the same again. So dude, that's the first I've heard of that.
A Foot not wanting to like pick apart players from Pacific, like Pacific Esport. Not Pacific as in the region, as in
All three of their best players are too young.
Yeah,
They're actually
17.
fetal. They're fucking fetal. Some of them are. One of them's 16, isn't he?
Yeah.
Fetal.
No,
what
two
the
of
hell
them
would have
are.
happened if they won?
It's only
Bad
Oh,
things.
dude. Yeah, we don't really know, to be honest.
Then it would have been the org who got the slot.
I think Comeback like has a birthday like mid next year, so he could play for Split 2. That's like the only dude that could maybe make it.
One of the things I was looking at recently as well is I kind of forgot to do this. I used to do this all the time in Overwatch, keeping track of the players that are turning 18 this year. It sounds super creepy, but just in terms of like them being eligible to be able to play.
It only
Yeah,
sounds
it
creepy
is.
because you said it sounds creepy. That's creepy.
In any other context
in
apart
any
from
other
sports,
context.
doing a countdown to when someone turns 18 is only for creeps.
Weird as fuck. Yeah.
Weird as
sure.
AF. Okay, so you remember Juicy, who played with Bleed, who was part of like a really integral part of their run up. He turns 18 this year. In fact, he turns 18 in like 10 days. So he's one of the players that like some of these Pacific teams could try to grab. You know, like a Team
sure.
Secret or something like that.
He's
If they were
good,
looking yeah, because he was super good. I want to move on to General Mates, because General Mates are one of the most like weird teams out there in my opinion, because we've already heard a report that they're going towards English. Champs is happening in Paris, so they're going to be one of the teams like KC and Vitality that are looking to spend money to get a really good team, right? But also, the people that they're looking towards, they are reportedly signing Robbie BK, who is a Dutch IGL initiator, who I haven't watched any of. Mini,
Job Life.
right? He was on Job Life, yeah. Meiy, who's a Sentinel player. Do you know much about Meiy?
Wait, the Turkish CS Mini.
No, I don't think so. I think he
No?
was Czech. Am I getting that wrong?
Oh, okay. Then.
Yeah, he's a Czechoslovakian player called Meiy.
Oh,
Patrick
Mini, the coach
Kushek.
of Fnatic. Yeah, he's,
Not
he was
not
a
Mini
pretty
the
good
coach of Fnatic either. No, no,
Dude,
no.
why is there so many minis?
Won a few trophies.
Yeah, so they're looking to sign Robbie BK and Mini, right? And then they're also apparently set to acquire Zipan, and then maybe CNED is being associated with them, if you believe the source that
Oh,
we were previously
Zipan.
talking
I
about.
thought you said Zipnix for a second, and I was like, is Zipnix playing Valorant? What the fuck?
Everyone's coming over.
You are Counter-Strike pilled.
I mean, they're going for it, right? This is their last potential year, so they're spending money. It's not too bad. I don't know enough about Mini, the other Mini. But dude, if they get
I thought he was your
CNED,
friend.
Zipan, I know that guy. Fuck that guy. I know too much about that guy. I don't know anything about this other guy. I mean, it's better than again. It's an upgrade from their original team, so at least they're going for it.
I don't
Dude,
even know
everyone's
who
making
they're
upgrades.
keeping.
Sounds like no one. You gave me no names of who they're keeping. I'm pretty
But
sure.
this is like exactly the kind of situation that people didn't want to happen with Ascension teams, where the org wants to stay in, so they just boot out all the players that got them there in the first place.
Yeah, but at the same time, look what they did last year.
Oh yeah, I know about that. But isn't the but the like romantic ideal of Ascension is that it's the players who earn the spot who get to be able to compete for the spot.
But
And
we all
even though they're
work
bringing
to
in tier
appease
2
the
players-
shareholders, Josh. Let's be real. I exist to bring value to the shareholders, as do these players.
Right.
You gotta.
And when you're not bringing value to the shareholders, you're useless to society.
I think you have to be a realist though. Like Simprissa, I would be fine with them keeping their lineup because I think they could make champs. Whereas like and like even the guard from last time, I'm happy with that because I think that they would be able to do okay. But I think any other team, you gotta be a realist and be like, well, this is our one shot. You gotta be cutthroat, man.
Like Boom?
Like-
You think Boom have to be really cutthroat then?
No, I mean Boom in my opinion, Boom got gifted. That I would just be like, sure, we'll just let these players do it. And I think it's like good to build like the Indonesian scene a little bit. So with them, I think it's a little bit different because this is unexpected. Like so, this is like a freebie, and I think you would get a lot of backlash. I think. I mean, honestly, everyone would get backlash if they change their teams. But I think you have to be cutthroat. You have one shot at it. That's it. So and I think it's different with Gentlemates because they had that one shot. They gave the players a good chance. You weren't good enough.
Yeah.
So now we need a new team.
But what the hell is this team though? Robbie
Oh, it's a
BK,
mi-
Mini,
it's a mix.
Zipan.
I don't know.
Like-
I feel like this every
Who is
offseason with
Robbie
EMEA
BK?
teams.
Robbie BK, he was the IGL of Job Life. Right?
Dutch IGL for a French
Job
team who
life.
won in
Yeah.
France. They dominated the French league, and he was the IGL for them. So
Dude, this team got crazy unlucky. They played like their qualifier game to get to the actual Ascension. I think it was top 4 of Ascension, and they had a
Okay.
guy that was timing out all the time. Like this team, and there's a
Oh,
reason
it was that
people were.
scenario.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a reason people
I
were looking
remember
at this
that.
team because they were super unlucky. Like honestly, they should have won this game. They should have beaten. Was it the Saudi team that they were playing? The Ultimates, I think it was. They should have won this one. Haven game. Yeah, the 2-1 against the Ultimates. Like this last game, they were just timing out. So they probably should have had they should have been at the LAN basically. So That's why people are picking
Wait,
apart this
they
team.
beat the Ultimates. Do you mean the Mouse series?
Or was it? Yeah, maybe it was Mouse. Click on this one, Kat. Is there a Haven third map? Yeah, okay, yeah, it was this one that I'm thinking of. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my god, they just lost every round at the end.
Oh,
of the
bro,
game.
but he was just timing out.
already
He's
up
just
to
running
10.
into walls
Yeah.
as a neon.
That's awful.
Like, dude was just literally just timing out and just sending it into sites and stuff. It was madness. So it was very unfair, to be honest. So that's why people are picking apart this team, because they're like, hold up, they actually play like pretty fundamentally well, and they had good players.
Yeah.
And we don't know if it's like the coach or the IGL or like a mix. So that's why the coach has gone to Liquid and the IGL's gone to, in theory, Gentlemates, and we're going to find out.
Yeah, this is a team that I'm really excited to keep an eye on, though, because I feel like if they have the money to throw around, and they like should be investing, right, and they end up going for these kind of players instead, that makes me interested to like what they see in the players, basically. One of the teams, though, I keep thinking, right, of like these legendary names of orgs that have been really good in Valorant in the past. Like when we're talking about best Americas teams, my brain goes like, oh well, maybe Loud will be. Oh no, that's not that. You know, and one of the teams in EMEA is Na'Vi. Like, what the hell are Na'Vi doing out here? I don't know what they're up to. They signed or have reached a verbal agreement with Hero. I don't think they had to pay a buyout. I think Hero's contract ended at the end of this year anyway. But apart from that, it's like Angel, Shao, and Hero. Isn't that it so far?
Yeah, +2, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't heard many rumors. Dude, the whole thing that worries me, like not really worries me, is the Sagetsu thing. But when I look at these teams, when you're looking at like Liquid, Koi, Na'Vi, Gentlemates, maybe there's another one that you could put in there. Like how do you even seed those teams? Like you know when you're meant to do like your overall seeding of looking at them, I feel like we're gonna have no idea of who places like where in them.
They're in the not making it to international events tier.
Yeah, I guess so.
Because like the teams that you're looking at in EMEA, in my opinion, already are Fnatic,
Heretics,
Vitality, Heretics, Carmen Corp. Those are the top 4 teams so far.
Oh yeah,
that
okay,
look
cool.
like the nasty teams to be paying attention to.
Yeah,
So,
I think honestly, I think anything below like any of those teams messing up is a fumble, and anyone doing it better than that is, I mean, Foot though, should they not be in there as well? But yeah, I agree.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe,
I would always put them above the teams that have like the mixed match of new players. So
oh, sorry, I have missed something in terms of Na'Vi actually that I forgot to put in here, which was that the Purist reported that Koala Noob and Ruxic were the 2 players to round out the roster. I forgot about this.
Yeah. 'Cause
So
it's meant to be Happy and Koala.
Yeah, so there is now supposed to be like a proper 5-person roster plus coach. Happy coaching, Koala Noob on the entry, Angel on the entry as well, because no matter what he's playing, he has to be. and then yeah, Shao, Hero, and Ruxic.
See, I'll probably put that above the other teams. Now I've heard it.
Which sounds pretty good.
It's in like the Liquid, Koi, Gentlemates mixed match.
Yeah, but I don't get as excited about that as I do about KC, Vitality,
Oh
Fnatic,
no, they're not.
Heretics.
Yeah, they're not in the top 4. They're like the C9s of EMEA. Upset potentials.
Okay, feels like we're running out of steam a little bit here, so we can call it there. I think there's a bunch more like.
You sure you don't want to talk about another European verbal agreement?
I mean, you could do it. Do you want to talk about Westside joining Giant X, Mimi? Have you got the
like
takes?
from the story? Oh, I love the
Ooh.
story.
That guy's good though.
Wait, Slinky's got
Yeah, no,
the take.
that guy is good. That's a good pickup.
Okay.
Maybe Giants are in there. Dude, the Giants roster could be good. Is Cloud finally going to get a sick team?
Yeah, maybe.
Is the Giants roster going to be good?
Dude, he's good. This guy.
Yeah,
And
but
he's
who-
got
Cloud will be on
Clouds.
a good
That's
team
2.
this year, Copium.
That's 2.
Yeah, give me 3 more.
Who are the other 3?
I don't know. I'm waiting for you to give me some 3 more.
I don't know the other 3. They said
Oh,
that
okay,
Fatinho
well
was
then.
exploring options. I don't know if they're keeping Redgar as the IGL. I don't know shit about Giant X.
Okay, well, 2 look good.
Okay, and then also I am genuinely so excited to see what they do with global esports. I am so excited to see what Juvenile does with global esports. But some of it's like a sick excitement, like just seeing what
Like
the fan base is going to
what?
react to it.
Or
I
the
don't know.
fan base.
Well, they've already booted Lightning Fast. If you were going to keep an Indian player on the team, if you were going to make it Indian in any way, surely you would try to keep Lightning Fast. So this implies no Indian representation at all to me, but maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. The global esports, who knows? They're
Dude,
I don't know.
If I'm global esports, I am putting my entire budget into like
Don't say
building
as fast.
PC bongs. No, into building PC bongs in like Mumbai and like just giving free admission to anyone that can hit Immortal or above. Just build like PC cafes everywhere, and you get free time if you're the highest ranked player. And eventually, you will create a superstar. There are enough people in India that you give enough computers, enough time, enough potential, you're gonna get your Kung Kung. They have to be brave enough to do it.
Yeah,
So instead of getting an academy team, they're gonna sponsor PC.
Their
monks
academy
across the
is
country.
all of India. They are going
India.
to one of the biggest countries in the world. They are going to
That
build
seems like
a
they're casting
PC
a
cafe
very
in every
wide
city.
net.
In every city. Yeah, get the venture
It might
capitalists.
make them more money than esports, though.
Yes.
It might be
Kids
more,
want to play
yeah.
games.
more
Possible.
fruitful. Yeah.
I'm just looking. I'm just looking at the stats at the moment, actually, of the South Asia splits that were, like the tier 2 that the Indian players play in, and one of the players that, like, two of the players that are kind of dominating it come from Revenant Esports, where SK Rossi was playing, but it's the two Kazakhstani players that are like up at the top. It's not the Indian players. I haven't been following them. That's just purely looking at stats, Steven, looking at the numbers. But that's it's not great when you see that in the tier 2 leagues. I feel the same when I look at like the Japanese leagues and stuff as well.
Yeah,
and
I think
you're
it's
like,
the same.
the imports are dominating the tier 2 level. That's not good for the health of the scene.
Yeah.
Kazakhstan has a good flag, though.
Thank you.
Where did you see?
You're welcome. No, it's
It does,
just a
it
good one.
does.
Kurt, can you pull it up? They have like a little bird on a really nice like cyan blue background. It's a really good flag. It's a
What
banger.
kind of bird is it?
I don't know. Maybe an eagle,
What flag?
raven, auk,
Oh.
Kazakhstan. And bonus points if you can pull it up and spell it.
It just auto completes. So,
Oh damn!
oh, the flag was
Look
there.
at the there.
See? Is that not
Wow,
a banger
it is
flag?
nice.
Is that a
Look at that.
bird though?
It is a
I think
bird.
it's
Oh,
a
it
bird.
is a
It's a
bird.
That
bird
is
flying
pretty
under
cool,
the
yeah.
sun.
That
They have
is
like
a
a
really
cool
good
little
flag.
like pattern on the side. I'm a fan.
It looks like some kind of eagle.
Well, we're in the off season.
Yeah.
Well,
The most news we've had in an episode in ages, and we're talking about Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it's the golden steppe eagle. Is
That's
the,
so sick. That's so
is the,
sick.
The one on the flag of Kazakhstan.
Their capital city is called Astana. It's an awesome name for a city.
wow.
Do you have any more fucking
No,
facts of
that's about it.
Kazakhstan?
That's about it. Did you guys listen to the Talk to a podcast with Leo Faria?
Oh yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't.
yeah. No, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's crazy all the stuff that Leo was saying though.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was like that.
Yeah, they're removing Sen from partnership, I heard. It's crazy.
Yeah. Let's move on to the final segment. Let's close this out. We've lost all grasp on reality.
Yeah.
All right, it's Wyatt's Weekly Award. Let's send it.
Presenting Wyatt's Weekly Award here today on this week's episode, the Edgewall Innkeeper from Magic the Gathering Throne of Eldraine. You won't find out like that in the wilds.
Oh God, I aspire to be the Edgewall Innkeeper. I'd
Dude,
love to
that's-
just hand out pies and
so
make people
good.
warm and
That's
cozy.
one of the best ones we've done yet. That's
It's
incredible.
so good.
Oh
I want
my
a copy
God.
of that card. The card art is so good. I don't have a winner for Wyatt's Weekly Award this week, I'm afraid. I don't know who to give it to. Does anyone have any suggestions?
Kurt?
Well,
We
sure.
can't do a baseball player, can we?
Can we?
Oh,
After
you want to give it to a
roster-
baseball player?
Kurt
no,
wants
we
to.
can't. We'll curse the Phillies. I don't want to curse the Phillies on the broadcast.
Why don't
Well,
we?
there was the longest game ever in Japan. There's that, but I don't know
Oh,
who
there
you give it
was.
to.
26, 28,
Give it-
just
give it
like
to-
anyone who viewed it.
Give it to the viewers for sitting for 2 hours watching.
Was
the
someone
game.
co-streaming that? I know that Japan
Surely
has
not.
some big co-streamers,
Oh yeah, I guess so.
but maybe not at the like tier 2 kind of level. Don't know. I'm inclined to give it to one of the journalists who's been doing frequent reporting in the Valorant scene, who's been very consistent.
That
Yeah.
could be good.
Inclined to give it to Alejandro Gomez because he's been
Yeah?
very good.
Yeah,
with
he's
the
kind of the
reporting on
goat.
Sheep Esports. But
I mean, I'd be happy with that. I don't really.
You could-
I've been living under a rock intentionally, so I don't know anything that's been happening.
Oh, the chat is recommending the Boom Esports social media manager. Did you see the stuff that they were tweeting when they realized that they had made it into tier 1? It was immaculate vibes, actually. They're just face rolling over the keyboard and like, holy shit!
We made it.
If you don't, oh, what the hell is the meme format? I'm butchering it already. Or it's like, if you can't handle me at my 3-2, we lose the final. You don't deserve me at my Bleed got kicked and we got led into VALORANT Esports.
Dude, it must be such a big thing for them. Like, because they came 4th and then 2nd, right? So it's so sick that they actually get rewarded for for supporting it for so long.
Yeah.
So I'm just happy for the org, to be honest.
Maybe we just give it to Boom.
Yeah, and
just
include
Boom
their
in
social
general?
media. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that they got to use both of these. You know, they got to use the memes if they made Pacific, and they got to use their, like, oh shit kind of stuff.
So good.
It's so good.
The stuff that, yeah, it is good.
It is
I mean,
good.
it was disgusting that they lost by literally that smidgen of a defuse.
Yeah.
And now
Dude,
they
yeah,
get in. It's kind of hype.
They played better in the final. Like, they actually played better. They just lost because of individuals. So it's nice that they get in.
Yeah, you're now looking at the before times. This is before they knew.
Yeah, I fuck with it. I mean, dude, just give it to the social media manager.
All right, we'll give it to
Boom
Boom.
Esports.
Media manager.
We'll give it to Boom Esports specifically. Boom Esports winning Wyatt's Weekly Award, and the social media manager can come and collect the award. You know, like the person you invite on
Yeah,
the stage
yeah.
to give the acceptance speech. There we go. All right, then. That does it for episode 190. A bunch of crazy stuff happening, but also tons of teams that we still don't know very much about. And those teams might take a long time to figure stuff out. So we'll see what mad shit drops before next week. Because I swear, like, the Bleed thing happened the day after Plat chat last week.
Yeah.
Like, Bleed got booted
Usually
out,
teams
I
wait
think,
for
on
Plat
Oh,
chat
Wednesday.
all the
before they release
announcements
their
today are happening in approximately 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I'm not waiting
Okay,
for
well, yeah, Plat chat late again.
Okay, we'll see you all later then. Thank you for joining me, all of you.
Bye-bye.